Good evening. The meeting on the Committee of Student Achievement and School Innovation of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Director Gokul Gandhi?
Present.
Director Ferguson?
Present.
Director Leonard?
Present.
Director O'Halloran?
Here.
And Chair Seamson.
Present.
That's 5 members present.
Thank you. The Chair will now ask the Secretary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The Chair invites any members of the audience who wish to participate to do so and asks that those who do not wish to participate to please remain silent during the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being conducted from the Central Services Building. This meeting is also being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream, the links to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la Junta de la Mesa Directiva de las Escuelas Públicas de Milwaukee. Si desea escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor llame al 312-626-6799 e introduzca el número de reunión 832-0725-4267, seguido por el símbolo de número. Luego, introduzca el código 883149, seguido por el símbolo de número. Nuevamente, para escuchar esta reunión en español, llame al 312-626-6799 e introduzca el número de reunión 832-0725-4267, seguido por el símbolo de número. Luego, introduzca el código 883149, seguido por el símbolo de número.
Thank you. For each of our items of business, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. If you wish to speak, please fill out a speaker slip and bring it to our Secretary, Ms. Jill Koala. Virtual speakers are asked to remain on the platform until you are called upon. After speaking, virtual speakers may follow the rest of the meeting using the broadcast information previously mentioned. The committee will accept public comments on tonight's agenda items. Speakers may only address the item for which they have registered. Questions from the public may not be answered during the public comment period. Following public comment, the committee will begin its discussion and no additional comments will be accepted. When you are called upon to speak, please state your name and spell your last name for the record. For the sake of fairness and to give everyone a chance to speak, the chair reserves the right to limit the length of time allowed to any one speaker. Written testimony will be accepted for transmittal to the board. Please send this testimony to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53201-2181, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Just as a reminder, Robert's Rules of Order dictates that all comments, questions, and requests should be directed to the chair of the committee, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. For the safety of all and to ensure the good order of the meeting, harassment or intimidation tactics of any kind will not be tolerated. Anyone who engages in such harassing or intimidating words or actions will immediately be asked to cease. If such behavior continues, a recess will be called and the offending parties will be removed from the meeting. Anyone ejected from the meeting may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. However, the individual will not be allowed to rejoin the meeting. Also, no one other than the members of the board, designated staff, and those who have been invited to present or participate in items of business will be allowed on stage before, during, or after meetings of the board and its committees. Finally, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the Meetings, Agendas, and Minutes page of the MPS website. Now let's begin. Madam Secretary, item 1.
Item 1 is a report with possible action on the M-Cubed College Connections Program. This is an informational item. Although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would the administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Eduardo Galvan, Interim Superintendent. This evening, the administration is prepared to share our M-Cubed College Connections Program report. To present this report, I have with me Matthew Zellmer and Yasmin Al-Abdul-Rahim, joined by 2024 MPS graduate Nina Suarez. Following the presentation, we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have in regards to this item. Thank you. Mr. Zellmer.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. I'm Matthew Zellmer, Post-Secondary Engagement Planning Assistant, and tonight I am joined by Dr. Yasmin Al-Abdul-Rahim and a former student, Nia Suarez, to talk about the M-Cubed College Connections evaluation. M-Cubed College Connections aligns with increasing academic achievement and accountability, as well as improving district and school culture. M-Cubed College Connections aligns with student achievement and graduation in our strategic plan. The M-Cubed College Connections program is a unique program where students take college courses earning both high school and college credit on the campuses of the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee and Milwaukee Area Technical College. Students enrolled at any MPS, traditional or charter high school, are able to participate. The program began in the spring semester of 2019 with 32 students and has grown to over 130 students on average with 3 distinct pathways. Every traditional MPS high school has had at least one participant. The majority of students participate in the general pathway during their senior year, which is designed to help students earn what are called general education requirements that most colleges and universities require. A nursing pathway was added to allow students the opportunity to earn their licensed practical nursing technical diploma while still in high school. Students start classes in this pathway the summer they are rising juniors and continue through their senior year. Our third pathway was redesigned to engage students in an internship within MPS schools prior to starting college coursework. This redesign has seen significant growth from 4 students participating in an internship to 30 students last spring, of which 4 students are now working as paraprofessionals within MPS schools while they attend college. Now, Dr. Al-Abdul-Rahim will present qualitative program data.
Committee Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Dr. Yasmin Al-Abdul-Rahim, Research Specialist in the Department of Research, Assessment, and Data. Thank you, Matthew, for detailing the M-Cubed College Connections program. I will be sharing the findings from the evaluation that was conducted to determine if participation in the M-Cubed program has led to statistically significant differences in post-secondary enrollment for MPS students. Though the requirements for participation are selective, access to the resources afforded to program participants has been equitably distributed throughout the district when looking at demographic data such as the racial and ethnic makeup of the M-Cubed students. Compared to the demographic composition of Milwaukee Public Schools as a whole, M-Cubed College Connections program includes a representative group of MPS students. Each ethnicity is represented at almost equal rates, with the largest difference being less than 3%. One of the highlights of the program to keep in mind as we move through the results of the evaluation is that the effects to be discussed are accessible to each subgroup of students in MPS in an equitable manner. The main aim of the evaluation was to investigate the post-secondary enrollment activity of students who participated in the M-Cubed College Connections program each year from the 2018-2019 school year through the 2022-23 school year. The analysis compared the post-secondary enrollment of M-Cubed students to the rest of the graduating cohort each year. Across every year, participating in M-Cubed was found to be a statistically significant predictor of post-secondary enrollment. The graphic on the left shows the effect size or amount of influence M-Cubed participation had on the post-secondary enrollment outcome. In the 2018-2019 school year, it started at M-Cubed participation explaining in about 47% of the variance in a student enrolling in post-secondary education or not. You will see a dip in the amount of variance explained or the amount of influence M-Cubed participation had on post-secondary enrollment in the 2019-2020 school year. That was the year that was most affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, impacting instruction and access to the other resources that accompany M-Cubed participation, like attending classes on UW-Milwaukee and MATC campuses, respectively. From the 2020 to the 2021 school year through the 2022-2023 school year, M-Cubed remained a significant predictor of post-secondary enrollment and steadily increased each year. In the 2022-2023 school year, the predictive effects of M-Cubed participation rose above the initial amount in the 2018-2019 school year. Of all the factors that contribute to a student enrolling in post-secondary education, M-Cubed has been found to be a significant contributor to enrolling each year. In addition to that, as part of the analysis of post-secondary outcomes for M-Cubed students, the post-secondary enrollment rates of International Baccalaureate, IB, and Advanced Placement, AP program participation was also considered. IB students from all 4 schools were included in the analysis, though more than 90% of the IB students were from 2 of the 4 schools, Reagan and King. In this analysis, IB participation was also found to be a statistically significant predictor of post-secondary enrollment across each year from the 2018-2019 school year through the 2022-23 school year. Similarly to what was found for students who participated in M-Cubed programming, the influence of IB participation lessened during the 2019-2020 school year, most likely due to the disruptions to programming incurred as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The influence of IB rebounded in a similar way to the influence of M-Cubed as programming returned closer to normal. It steadily increased from the 2020-2021 school year to the 2022-2023 school year. In contrast, advanced placement programming did not have a statistically significant influence on post-secondary enrollment, and in lieu of speculation, more investigation of the predictive effects of advanced placement that would be aligned to the goals of that program would be most appropriate than post-secondary enrollment as an outcome, as that was the main focus of this evaluation because it focuses on M-Cubed program participation. Here we see the significant amount of influence M-Cubed programming had next to the significant influence IB programming had on post-secondary enrollment. One notable feature of the influence is the degree to which M-Cubed appears to have been impacted by the disruption to instruction and programming caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. M-Cubed exceeded the pre-pandemic influence it had on post-secondary enrollment in the 2022-2023 school year, and the influence exceeded the rebounded faster in the 2020-2021 school year. The difference in the degree of influence between M-Cubed and IB in the most recent school year, 2022-2023, that we have available is only 2 percentage points, and both M-Cubed and IB exceeded the pre-pandemic influence that year as well. Additionally, a comparison of grade point averages was also conducted to highlight any differences between students who participated in M-Cubed programming and those who did not. The GPAs of the students who participated in M-Cubed and those who did not through their junior year were compared to the students who participated in M-Cubed and had a higher average than those who did not participate by 0.5 of a point. The difference in GPA was higher when looking at the senior year GPA of both groups. While the non-M-Cubed students' GPA gained 0.2 of a point, the M-Cubed students' average GPA gained 0.7 of a point. Having a higher cumulative GPA introduces additional opportunities for college-minded students when making post-secondary enrollment decisions too, which can be attributed to the influence of M-Cubed programming. That concludes the quantitative aspect of the M-Cubed College Connections evaluation. Next, to share the qualitative perspective of the influence of M-Cubed College Connections program participation is MPS 2024 graduate Nia Suarez, who is currently enrolled at UW-Milwaukee.
Good evening, Chair, Director Seamson, and members of the committee. I was happy to be accepted into the M-Cubed College Connections program because I wanted to challenge myself and better prepare myself for my future during senior year. But if I'm honest, when I attended the first program expectations meeting, I wondered above all else what I got myself into. I had doubts about my readiness for the program, let alone four-year college, if this is what things were going to be like. But with the support of my family and Audubon counselor, I took the plunge anyway. What I experienced throughout the year was the most supportive learning environment I ever had. When classes started, I quickly realized that I would need to work harder and manage time better than I ever had in high school, and the program structure was very helpful for me. The support hours built into the English and math courses in particular allowed for me to better understand the concepts being taught and gave me time and space to complete my work without too much stress. I was also afforded the opportunity to complete an education internship at Morgandale Elementary, which opened up a possible new career path for me. I achieved straight A's in College Connections, something I did not accomplish in high school. Toward the end of the school year, I panicked about still not feeling ready for college academically or financially. Program staff took time to sit down and outline potential paths and solutions and also continue to build my confidence as a student. Their encouragement lifted me up and significantly eased my doubts. As I speak to you this evening, I am a proud UWM student enjoying a successful first semester. I truly believe none of this would be possible without the M-Cubed College Connections experience, and I'm honored to advocate for its continued support from the board. Thank you.
Administration.
Yeah, I would also just like to add that yesterday at the Wisconsin, Policy Forum, we were honored along with our partners, UWM and the Milwaukee Area Technical College for intergovernmental cooperation for creation of this program, and that has benefited so many of our students.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. It was very meaningful. I'm glad it was so positive for you. Madam Secretary, are there any members of the public on our virtual platform who wish to speak?
We have no speaker requests for this item.
All right, thank you. Do any committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Leonard?
So I've had the opportunity a couple times now to view the program at METC. I have not had a chance to see it at UWM, so I'm very impressed with it. We had a chance to, I was with Mr. Galvan, we went at one of those times we had a chance to speak to a lot of students. It was a very positive kind of response from them. And I gotta say, the maturity of our students in those programs was sort of amazing to watch. So to know that over 130 of our students are in this program is something that tells me that this is a program that we would most definitely want to support and grow because it's a great advantage to MPS. One question. Do we do the program in summer school also, or during the summer at all?
Administration?
Director, Director Leonard, Chair Seamson, members of the committee, thank you. Matthew Zellmer, I'll take that question. At this time, our summer options involve some summer PE courses, mainly to navigate the state requirement for 3 full semesters of gym. Since our students are away from their high school campuses the entirety of senior year, many come in applying to the program needing that semester. In our nursing pathway, as I mentioned, we do have the rising juniors apply, and then their first requirement is that they take and pass with a C or higher in English 195 course to both satisfy an MATC sequence requirement and a semester of MPS English credit. We are also exploring or have begun to discuss as a team possibilities of a summer bridge program to further acclimate, especially as we grow and desire to obtain more students, our students with some summer bridge program to further get them ready beyond standard orientation, get to know you type events, so that they can have a greater comfort level about joining the program and even better success and hopefully less stress as they transition during fall semester in specific.
Follow-up, Director Leonard?
Oh, thank you. That sounds good. And we're moving forward. I'm excited about it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that does sound like a great idea. Director Ferguson?
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to commend Ms. Suarez on doing such a great job in the program and then starting your freshman year. I know freshman year can be a little bit of a walk in the park, right? No. But just I wanted to commend you and congratulate you on starting your freshman year. And as you know, programs like this, it depend on alumni like you actually walking it out so we can see the true value years ahead, years down the road. So I thank you so much for being with us tonight and enlightening us about the program.
Thank you. Did you have any comment about that?
Thank you so much. It was a very difficult program, but it was very rewarding and it was a blessing. So thank you.
Director O'Halloran?
For the IB results, is it just enrollment in the IB courses, or does it, were the students preparing for an exam? Like, you can take an IB class and not take the exam. So was that relevant at all?
Administration?
Director Simpson, members of the committee, all students who were taking IB courses were included in the analysis, so not just those preparing for the exam.
Well, any follow-up, Director O'Halloran?
No, thank you.
Any further comments or questions by committee members? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for that report. And Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 2, a report with possible action on the Regional Showcase, East Region. This is an informational item. Although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Thank you. And just having a little bit of a change over here. Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Eduardo Galvan, interim superintendent. This evening, we are excited to introduce you our monthly regional showcase featuring the East Region. I'd like to point out some of our East Region administrators coming to support their presenter up here, so thank you all.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for coming.
I have with me Miguel Sanchez, Regional Superintendent of the East Region. This evening, Mr. Sanchez will present this showcase accompanied by Roosevelt Middle School's principal, Ms. Tiffany Fisher, and students Messiah Gooden, Savannah Rhodes. We look forward to your feedback and any questions you may have following this presentation. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Miguel Sanchez, East Region Superintendent Schools, Regional Superintendent Schools, and here along with Ms. Fisher, the proud principal of Roosevelt Middle School of the Arts, and we have the showcase this time. I don't know if you can drive for us.
Madam Chair, I think the program on the, might need to be switched
Right,
on the
that's-
superintendent side. So we'll just give it a minute so they can,
So for those of you
Make
listening
that
to
change?
just some technology snafus that we're working on here,
here we go.
and we're ready. Almost.
We're just about there. There we go.
We're here. Thank you for your patience. So tonight we're here to showcase Roosevelt School of the Arts. So We're the presenters, Miguel Sanchez and Tiffany Fisher, the proud principal of Roosevelt. And today we're going to talk about two priorities that are very important and near and dear to the school and along this presentation, which is increasing academic achievement and accountability, as well as improving district and school culture as the arts run across all of them. Of course, they align to our strategic plan for driving our mission in the areas of student achievement and graduation, as well as staff morale and professional learning. So this is the East Region in a nutshell. We're the United Nations of the Milwaukee Public Schools. You could see that African Americans make up 40%. Our Asian community is growing steadily, almost 10%. The amount of languages spoken in our region is growing, and dialects as well. So we're very proud to take them all. All are welcome in the East Region. Great news about our ABCs. We're going to talk about our attendance. 92% attendance. Thanks for the great work of our leaders in the East Region. It's not only that we welcome them, but we make them feel so important, and then they can do the best they can, and they can achieve what we have achieved. So then they feel welcome to our school. We make phone calls. We have our parent coordinators to support services for our families. We jump right away on families that may need McKinney-Vento services. We jump right away on kids that may need home and hospital. So then we are very, very, very aware of our attendance, and we know that if our kids are in school in front of our teachers, that's the best place to be, and they're going to learn. Going to the B part of it, right? Attendance, the behavior. Excellent news again, right? We are coming down 2.4% suspensions, a dramatic decrease, and based on restorative practices, based on the understanding that the best place for the children in the city is in our public schools. So our teachers, principals, and thanks for the support that we get from Central Services, work on restorative practices, work on systems to support and prevent before issues arise. And this is who we are. We are 27 schools across 28 campuses. The East Region hosts many more Montessori schools than some districts in the state of Wisconsin. We have 4 Montessori schools. We have a dual language school, Escuela Fratney. We have Milwaukee Academy of Chinese Language as well. And then we have 3 traditional middle schools, Roosevelt, one of them, Lincoln Center of the Arts, and King Middle School. We have the largest K-8 school, public school in southeastern Wisconsin, Parkside School of the Arts. And then we have an Afrocentric school, King Junior. We have community schools as well. We have a couple of them with O.W. Holmes and King Junior. And then we have traditional schools that complement the work that we do. We are currently about 10,839 students. We are up 459 children from Third Friday. And as we see, we plan to grow, probably hit 11,000. That shouldn't be a target that we will dismiss. We certainly walk them all. Of the children we serve, 2,180 of them receive special education supports. And then about 1,500 of them are English language learners. Now, I have a particular note before we go into the presentation from Ms. Fisher. At this time, 19 schools in the East Region have better attendance than last year. And believe it or not, the schools that are struggling with attendance are usually those high-performing schools where 97, 98 is common. So when they drop one tick is that crucial, but we're very proud, and then they're continuing to push the effort. And then we can proudly say that 17 out of 27 schools had less suspensions than last school year. All that to say that we are working very collaboratively with our schools. We're very proud of the relationship building among our administrators. It is common for our administrative team to shift within schools to support another school when need be. When they need professional development and they're working a similar school, we shift our assistant principals and sometimes principals to support that. It is very common to say, Miguel, where do I lend a hand? Because I know that particular school may have more people to be on an evaluation, and I'm going to support. So we're very, very pleased and very happy to work with such a dedicated bunch of guys that put students first and their staff as well. So now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Ms. Tiffany Fisher. She's a proud product of the Milwaukee Public Schools. She's a graduate of Washington High School. She was a teacher. I met her as, what was the name of the position we met? Curriculum generalist. Then she became an assistant principal, and currently she serves as the proud principal of Roosevelt Middle School of the Arts. Ms. Fisher.
All right. Good evening, Director Simpson, members of the committee. I'm Tiffany Fisher, the principal at Roosevelt Middle School of the Arts, and our vision there is that we really seek to validate every experience of the students when they come in through the arts. So there's no pre-auditioning or anything like that. We really want to take them through an exploratory version so they can explore all the arts and then maybe choose some majors their 7th and 8th grade year. So just a little bit about the school on that first slide. We are, like Mr. Sanchez said, we are a 6th through 8th grade traditional middle school with a focus on arts. Our enrollment as of yesterday was 292 with 309 served. So we're 65 over our projected enrollment. So we're very proud about that. We did a lot of work in recruitment over the summer, which I'll kind of talk about on a future slide. We're 16% students with disabilities and 88% students economically disadvantaged according to that guideline. And then you kind of see some of our breakdown as far as what students make up our building. And then just some spotlight on our data. We have a 3.1 increase attendance rate from last year. So we have really put our efforts together. We have a very talented parent coordinator, Ms. Mizell, and she does a lot of work with our parents. And we're doing just a lot of things like attendance challenges, which I'll talk about on the next few slides. And then our suspension rate is remarkably, we're down almost 12 points from last year at this same time. So we're doing a lot of things, and I'll talk about that on the next slide, on a couple of slides. No, okay. And then this next slide are just some things that we're really proud of at Roosevelt. So the first thing is that and you'll see the students are sporting their Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts shirts, and they'll talk about their experience with that. But we do partner with the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. We're a turnaround art school, and I'll tell you what that is on that last slide. We do have a full-fledged arts leadership team. So it's easy to kind of implement the arts if you're a school and you want to do arts and theater and bring in instruments or have a band and things like that. But what's really been helpful for us, and part of the stipulation of us being a turnaround arts school, is that we have a fully functioning arts leadership team. It gives you way more mileage. It takes out, as far as like funding, the team fully operates that. If we get any art partners, even as far as like getting new staff and onboarding like music and art teacher, I meet with them, but the arts leadership team really sits down and does scheduling, gives them a tour and really talks about our vision and mission and really goes child by child and kind of explains to the teacher, what we're about and what we're looking for in that art partner. Another point of pride is that we're having our 39th annual dinner theater. I've seen some of us there, but it is Saturday. These two guys will be the star of the show, and that is our 39th one. So if you don't know about it, it's just where we come and, eat dinner and see a show. And our school musical, it's right there on the screen. It's Saturday Night Live, and they'll tell you a little bit more about it. So that's happening Saturday. We do still have tickets. It's at 5:30. So we're proud about that. That's a tradition in Roosevelt that we will continue to do. Arts program through art partners allow for matching. So what that means is just if we're not able to get staffing in through vacancies in music and art, we do partner with various community members. So it could be a person that comes in and does drumline. We really do intense screening of people and make sure that, Roosevelt is where they want to do. So those art partners are really good in our arts leadership team at matching who's best for the job as far as coming in. We make sure they want to be there, tell them the truth about our students, and we tell them our vision and mission and make sure this is a place that they, are up for the challenge for. So that's our arts programming. We talked about DC already, and that was just a point of pride where our students did it was on YouTube, and these students, like I said, performed. Last year, including staff, we sent 11 students, I believe, to Washington, D.C. to perform at the Student Showcase. So we can definitely look that up. It was amazing. We performed Frederick, an original piece like Hamilton, and it was just great. Another one is our recruitment efforts. I cannot say enough about our recruitment efforts. We had, last year, we started in, I want to say, right after the winter break. So in January, we sent out, and I touched base with a lot of the elementary schools. We had them come over and spend a day in the life of a middle school. So we got them in, we gave them pizza, we took them through the schedule of all of our arts classes. So they got to see our gym, our dance studio, all of that, our cheerleading team, all of our athletic teams. They got to meet the actual academic teachers. And then when they were done, I sent a couple of messages over to their school to send it out through Messenger. And those parents really, I had kids calling me in the summer saying, did I get in? Did I get in? So that was really exciting. I think it was really key. Another point was just our secretary. I worked very heavily with her on just messaging when people will call in and say, are there any openings in the school? What's the school about? So that, I think, is a really key point that kind of helped us boost our enrollment from last year. Another one is our Restorative Circles Point of Pride. We've had 7 so far to date with families, and this is just where, when we look at behavior as some alternatives to suspensions, and I talked about this last year, I think, at the meeting, where instead of, if we have families or kids that are getting into it, we invite the whole family in with respect to restorative circles. So we'll invite all the moms in, the children, and we circle up just like this, and we have our support staff involved, our running rebels, and we get to the heart of like whatever the kids are having a conflict over. So we're able to decrease a lot of suspensions to that. So we brought 7 families in to date, and that is huge. I think we did 2 last year, but we did 7 this year. We're going to continue with that. So that has really been effective with reducing suspensions. Our CSI funds, we are a CSI school. So with that, we had a CSI Teacher Academy, and through that academy, we worked on our evidence-based instructional strategies. Ms. Evans from the literacy department sent people in. We had our HMH representatives from the vendor come in. We had the math department send math teacher leaders over, and they worked with our teachers over the summer so that they were ready when the kids came in. So those CSI funds helped us tremendously as far as onboarding teacher and just new staff, so we're proud of that. And the next one, just about, we use Dojo. We went from Hero, we used to use Hero, the Hero system. Now we're just full on. We have like 270 families that have logged on to Dojo, so that's really working. They can see what's going on in real time. Our athletics, you can see all of the athletics that we offer, so we're proud about that. I think we lost our last game, but we won the majority of them. Through our ESSER funds, we did do an auditorium refresh, so proud about that. Even though my grandmother, who went to Roosevelt, was kind of sad to see some of that old typewriter going some of those things. I was like, look at this. But I said, we refreshed the auditorium, and she was just like, no. We didn't do the seats, but we did get a complete roof. We painted and everything, so she did pop over and look at it because she lived in the neighborhood, so proud about that. Our outside classrooms, and then just got a chance with those ESSER funds to refresh some of the inside classrooms. And then the last thing is just Amnesty Day. Amnesty Day is a day for students to get another chance to retake assessments. So if a student does an assessment, it's a whole school-wide thing where we kind of shut down the school and we allow kids to do reteaching in their classroom, and that's all they focus on. The students can retake any assessments. It's small groups, and we send it out to parents. Hey, come to school tomorrow. It's Amnesty Day. Get a chance to do your assessment over and, achieve proficiency in those standards. So those are just some of our points of pride. That other picture up there, I think that is Elm Creative Arts School when they visited us for the recruitment and the tour. Let's see. Next one is just some of our community partners. This list is constantly growing and changing, but these are our current partners that we have at Roosevelt this year. And then we just added a drumline one. We have First Stage on there. And then I think there is one more. Did we get Wild Space? Yep, it's on there. But those are some of our community partners. And like I said, this list is constantly growing. I'm not going to go over all of our evidence-based instructional strategies this year, but there's mainly just 5 areas, and I'll just highlight maybe 2 on each thing. So in an instructional part, our big thing that we're focusing on this year is just making sure that teachers stick to the pacing guides. Sometimes when kids come in and they're not maybe performing at the level that teachers think they may be performing at, sometimes it's easy to get off track and want to teach to mastery, but we just come in and we're doing walkthroughs and making sure they're sticking with the pacing guides, which are laid out beautifully in every department. So we love that. And then making sure students have conversations. That's immediate engagement with the kids. If they can talk to each other, because we can't compete with getting up lecturing and 5 minutes tops, and we'll lose them. But we try to get the kids engaged in student conversations the whole hour. So that's a couple of things from instructional. For climate, I talked about restorative practices. And second step is one that we are doing, as well as PBIS. We're still doing that. All of our kids know it. And that's just teaching kids the procedures, constantly talking to them. I know with the increase in social media, they come and we think they know how to do it, but we got to just keep talking to them, and we reward them when they get it right. And then when they don't, we just keep reteaching. And then the arts, I talked about that, how we're integrating arts into every core subject through VTS. We do have a school-wide integration strategy. And then I just talked about strengthening our art partners nationally and locally. And then our school and community engagement. Like I said, we have a very talented parent coordinator. So some of the things she's focusing on this year versus last year is just the attendance challenge. And we're not doing it every month. It's really every 2 weeks. So parents are really getting involved. And we're finding that more intermittent checks and balances for attendance is really panning out for us. And then the last one is just developing staff, just understanding that developing staff is just not, telling is not teaching, never sit and get. It's a full-fledged coaching cycle, and it's differentiated. So we'll talk about something at a staff meeting based on our plan, and then we have teacher partners that go in, they do coaching, even though we don't have the SST. Our teachers have stepped up, and they're doing the coaching with their colleagues, they're modeling, and a lot, I will say this, district support has been amazing. There's a form we fill out if we need support. I've had every department, science, math, ELA, every department, art has come in and worked with our staff. They're in the classroom coaching and modeling, so absolutely love that. And that is it for our EBIS. And this next one just highlights just some of our star reading and math screener trends. The first one is reading. And our goal is always, as you can see, there's 2 metrics there. The first one is spring, when we ended last year, and this one is our fall. So, and that's reading. So, of course, our goal is always to decrease the amount of students in red, and that means they're significantly below target. So we have lots of work to do there, but as you can see, reading, definitely some positive trends starting out. And then math is at the bottom, so that is what we want to do. And that was just our first star. So we're doing lots of things with the students to make sure that that significantly below value is decreasing. So we're doing data chats and planning with our students on a regular basis. And we think that has really made some difference on that. And then almost done, this year's musical is Frederick. So we did do a short synopsis of, like I said, it was just, I think it was about an 8-minute song. It was like Hamilton, and it was called Frederick. Mr. Leviston, our arts director, which the kids will talk about, has been tapped. He was contacted by the Kennedy Center to do a full-fledged, like a Broadway musical outlining the whole life of Frederick Douglass. So he's excited about that. He visited D.C., and the kids are going to perform some of that this year. So he's been reading like multiple autobiographies, multiple biographies about Frederick Douglass, learning all he can so he can really bring this to life. So we're super proud of him. If you're listening, Mr. Leviston, we thank you, and we're very proud of you, and the kids will talk about that. So yeah, and that's May 15th and 16th this year. So I'll make sure everybody here gets an invitation. And then last but not least, I would like to highlight 2 of our top performers. They've been with us throughout their middle school career. They performed last year. They went to D.C. I did not coach them. I had them read to me what they had to say. They didn't work with an ELA teacher. I just had them read to me what they were going to say, and that was basically it. But they are not new to this. They're not nervous, and I would just like to introduce them. And they're going to talk a little bit about their life experience at Roosevelt and what the arts has done for them. So Savannah Rhodes and Messiah Gooden. Savannah, can you go first for us, hon? Thank you so much. Savannah Rhodes.
Hello, my name is Savannah Rhodes. I am an 8th grader at Roosevelt Middle School of the Arts. I am a proud member of the Student Council. I am student representative, a school ambassador, and In my 6th grade year, I was a part of a musical, Moana Jr., for the first time in 3 years due to COVID-19. And in my last year, 7th grade, I was a part of another musical, Matilda Jr. I'm a part of an advanced group in my social studies class for Following the Roosevelt Way. I have traveled to Washington, D.C. to perform an original art piece at the Kennedy Center, thanks to Mr. Leviston. We call him Mr. J. And I am a cast member of Roosevelt's first ever original musical, Frederick, and I currently am a member and cast member of the 39th annual dinner theater, Saturday Night Live. What motivated me to do all of these things is that in my 6th grade year, I realized is that you have to put in work to get out to do things that provide the help you need to be successful in school and or life in general. I've been keeping that goal till this day and not planning on letting it go anytime soon. An experience that stood out to me the most in my years in Roosevelt are the amount of activities they do to try to get as many students involved in the arts as much as possible. Some skills that I've learned in Roosevelt is that the little things can make big inspirations, and to make sure you don't dim your light for nobody, not even yourself. The arts has helped me to become more creative in everything and in myself. It has inspired me to express myself in different ways and or forms of art for everyone and everything. Roosevelt has taught me leadership skills like from multitasking with schoolwork to traveling around the country. Roosevelt has plenty of opportunities in and outside of school. My experience at Roosevelt has changed my perspective in life and it's inspired me that things can look easy, but it's the work that you have to put in that's hard. The arts has hosted many musicals, talent shows, plays, etc. that I've been gladly a part of. Being the non-sociable person I was in 6th grade, I was extremely nervous performing in front of an audience. Then I eventually got worried about schoolwork, but later found out that arts actually helps with schoolwork and classes, which was and still is making me better academically and during performances. Art helps with mental health, especially if you have anxiety and or depression. It has helped me plenty of times from being off track in school and helping me be calm when I'm frustrated. Roosevelt can make a huge impact on kids who specialize in different forms of art. Roosevelt can also impact kids who don't specialize in arts, like from entrepreneurship, designing clothing, showing leadership skills throughout the building, and etc. Roosevelt has helped me physically and emotionally and other students too. Roosevelt is a great school for kids who are looking for life-changing opportunities in school and outside of school. Normally, teachers only focus on their subject in classes, but in Roosevelt, teachers often encourage kids to come to them if there's any type and or sort of trouble, so all schools can have some type of break from schoolwork. Once again, Roosevelt is a great school for opportunities, and you and your child can be a part of that. This is a great place to enroll your child. Thank you.
I was recording.
Hello. Wait. Hello, I am Saya Gooden, and I have been at Roosevelt Middle School of the Arts for 3 years now, as I am currently an 8th grader, soon graduating. I'm an actor for theater arts inside of the school, and something that I can say that inspired me to do theatrical arts is the opportunities that you can come across. Doing one thing can open something for another. The school itself has given me one of the most life-changing accomplishments and achievements, that being a performance that was led by our theater director, Jerron Leviston, who they call Mr. J, but I call J, just J, because, I'm like that. He took us to the country capital, Washington, D.C., to perform at the famous Kennedy Center. We love you, Mr. J. This has left an extreme impact on my life, and this also proves how many opportunities in Roosevelt are open for everyone. I am also featured in an original musical called Frederick that is up and coming. Roosevelt is an art school which takes the form of arts as an extremely serious subject and, like I said, a life-changing experience. I can say that I have experienced every aspect and opportunity of what they have to offer, It varies from tons of things, such as theatrical arts, drumline, and even instruments like piano, clarinet, you can name it. It also brings a sense of belonging with not only the people around you, but also to yourself. Figuring out what you want to do is very important, but if something doesn't pique your interest, there's always another bunch of options that are open and waiting for your arrival. Even so, I've mentally, I've grown from the school. I am also aware that mistakes can improve anything you do, whether that be mentally, physically, or even intellectually. The arts as a whole has changed me completely. At first, I heard about theater arts and plays and singing on stage and dancing and yada yada, singing lines. Oh my gosh. You know, it didn't exactly sit right with me because it didn't seem like something that I would do. I just decided that taking a step might have been maybe something fun to do. And that's how I started doing theater. It helped me grow on many cases, especially academically. It has also been very educational for me, and it has definitely awoken me and has reshaped the way I see our world very much differently. Even students and peers can inspire you as well, but not only students and peers, teachers. I've had several teachers support me and carry me and help me carry myself across the grade levels, and they also help me raise my confidence, not only on stage, but in general life. Shout out to my 7th grade teacher. I love you. Being a part of something so huge is truly something to be proud of, and I will definitely never stop bragging about that time I had in Washington, D.C. Yes. As I develop and get older, Roosevelt has made me see multiple career choices that I can maybe, try. I do plan to study on astronomy and theater, and yeah, Roosevelt is an amazing school. There's so many possibilities and chances that your child can take, and I myself am grateful that I was put into that school. It opened my eyes to many things, so come to Roosevelt. Also, if your child acted full at home, they'll definitely like acting on that stage in Roosevelt, definitely.
Administration, thank you. The board.
All done? Okay, thank you. Thank you, students. You are always the highlight of our meetings when you come to speak, and this was a perfect example of that. And I do just want to thank Mr. Sanchez for, at the beginning of this presentation, how you highlighted the East region and really all of MPS as being a place of diversity, being a welcoming environment, and that it is the best place that MPS is the best place for our kids to be. So I just want to thank you for that. Madam Secretary, are there any members of the public who wish to speak?
We had no speaker requests for this item.
Thank you. Do our committee members wish to make comments? I'm going to defer to Director Gokul Gandhi first because East Region.
Yes, so I see many of the principals from the East Region out there. Thank you for joining us tonight from District 5. The second thing is I want to congratulate the students. You're so funny back there. You were a little bit nervous. And look, I told you, right, that you would be the highlight of everyone's evening. And what do you know? You were. Next time, I want to see some dancing and singing. So I don't know. Can we have a Broadway show? I feel like our listening audience on the radio would love that. They'd be like, finally, And I just really want to congratulate you, Ms. Fisher. Your, the 25% movement in reading and the 15% movement in math, that those translate to real numbers and real kids. And so just your ability to have done that between the spring and fall, that's a real testament to your hard work and the staff that the kids have shouted out. So yeah, I think we should give her a round of applause. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Impressive. Those are numbers we like to see. And so really thank you for your leadership and the passion that you bring to this district and to our kids. It's leaders like you that make all the difference. So that is all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Director Ferguson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to say to the students, you guys are absolute rock stars. And I am so very happy to see you guys here tonight. As the newest member of this board, I actually am a Milwaukee High School of the Arts alumni, and that school is actually in my district. So just a shameless plug. I hope one day I get to be your director on this board as well. Absolutely. Yay! Yes. That's very exciting. The whole time I just wanted to interrupt, like, are you guys going to the arts? So I'm so excited that you're going to the arts. Mr. Sanchez, thank you for your work, and Ms. Fisher, thank you for your work. I really loved when you said, starting out, that this is the United Nations of the city. So that was really good. I really like just the presentation, what you guys were saying. Ms. Fisher, I wanted to know if there were any particular challenges that you had at your school that you wanted us to be aware of.
Ms. Fisher.
I would say as far as challenges, just making sure that staff are okay as our world evolves. Just making sure that our staff and our school community is evolving with the culture of our community and our world. So we have like social media, like I said, children's, the way that brains think. So we have to adjust our pedagogy to that. So sometimes that can be a challenge with getting staff on board with that. And then our staff is newly, we have staff, I would say, about 80% of them are, I would say, non-veteran teachers, meaning they're in their first to 5 years. So, you know, just keeping them encouraged and making sure that they have everything they need. So that's a constant, I would say, it's a challenge, but we're for the challenge. Like I said, we work all summer, but it's still, you know, definitely a challenge just to kind of say, you're going to be okay, things are all right, this is, you know, and we meet all the time. We do restorative circles with our staff just to check in, but I would say that's probably one of the biggest challenges. Everything else I'm kind of, just with my experience, I'm kind of used to and kind of know how to, but that's it, just keeping staff, you know, keeping hope alive with like our new staff. So that's it.
Any follow-up, Director?
Yes, I'm also a believer in restorative practices and circles. I'm a former clinician myself with restorative justice, and I really think that it can really color a community very well and help to solve challenges that might be more difficult to solve with more traditional means, right? So I just want to commend you on thinking outside of the box, too, when it comes to addressing challenges in our schools. And just yesterday, I got the opportunity to sit with, because this is my third day on the job, right? So just yesterday, I got the opportunity to sit with these amazing ladies and gentlemen. And one of the things that I was asked was, what did I really want to do? Why did I come to this work? And one of the things that I said to them was, I don't know if you remember this, but I said connecting young people to opportunities that they wouldn't ordinarily get. And so seeing that you guys, Mr. Levinston, I've never met you before, I don't think at least, but connecting them to the opportunity at the Kennedy Center, which is an absolute world-class opportunity to connect students in Milwaukee to, is one of the reasons that I wanted to be a part of this board in the first place. So you guys being here tonight was just like, I feel like God was saying I did the right thing. So I'm happy to be here, and thank you guys for being so inspiring tonight.
Thank you, thanks.
Indeed. Any other comments or questions? Director Leonard.
So I won't pull this too far, but Ms. Fisher, I listened very carefully to your enrollment ideas and whatnot. So I'm going to probably call you up and pick your brain, because I think it's an area that I haven't heard many building principals explain comprehensively. Okay, so if your numbers are going to be going up and some of the things that you're doing with your secretary and whatnot, those are some thoughts that some of us have had in our mind for a while with regards to this. So just sort of, I won't say forewarning you, but but just saying, hey, I would definitely like to get those ideas out there, because I think we have to start thinking out of the box, and not so much expecting enrollment to go up like by thousands. We're not looking at that, but we definitely need to do some things that make us way more connected to our parents and our community, and that's, I think you have some ideas that I think what I'm hearing is very positive and very useful. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Yep, anytime.
Anyone else? All right. Yeah, could we just give a round of applause for everybody? Audience and those on the stage from the East Region, thank you so much. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 3, a report with possible action on state student assessment results from spring 2024. This is an informational item. Although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Thank you so much. Would administration please present this item?
Chair Stevenson, members of the committee, in accordance with board action to regularly report district assessment data, this evening we will share the data released this fall. Dr. Natalie Collins and Robert Latterman are with me this evening to present this information. Following the presentation, we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you. Mr. Latterman.
Chair Stevenson, members of the committee, Bob Latterman, Manager of Assessment and Data. This evening, we are going to go over and review the results of our spring 2024 state assessments. In terms of the district's 5 priorities for success, this presentation is focused on increasing academic achievement and accountability. And with regards to the district's strategic plan, we are aligned with student achievement and graduation. Before digging into the assessment data, it's important to understand the multitude of changes that occurred within the Wisconsin State Assessment System this year. To start, the Department of Public Instruction changed the terminology used to describe student performance on all statewide assessments to move towards more asset-based language in reporting of assessment results. The new performance levels of advanced, meeting, approaching, and developing compared to the historical language of advanced, proficient, basic, and below basic. In addition to the new terminology, a standard setting process took place over the summer to realign assessments with the latest versions of the Wisconsin academic standards in both ELA and mathematics. As a part of this process, new cut scores for the Wisconsin performance levels were established for both the Wisconsin Forward Exam and the ACT. The Wisconsin Forward Exam also saw several test design updates this past year that are reflected in how the data are reported. Of most significance is the change in reporting from a 3-digit scale score to a 4-digit scale score. In all, these changes impact how we can interpret this year's data. The statewide standard setting and changes to cut scores have resulted in shifts in the percentage of students reported in each of the new performance level categories. Within MPS and across the state, there are now larger than expected increases in the percentage of students meeting expectations. While it is encouraging to see these increases in our numbers, it does make it difficult to confidently say to what degree those changes can be attributed to improved student achievement as opposed to simply changes in how the state assessments are being reported. We are also limited in how we can analyze trend over time. Changes to the scale score on the Wisconsin Forward Exam don't allow us to make direct comparisons of this year's scores to scores of previous years, and you'll see how we took that into consideration in the analysis. Because of all this, it may be best to consider our 2023-24 data as a bit of a new baseline moving forward when it comes to analyzing the percentages of students meeting expectations on state assessments. Our analysis starts with a big picture breakdown of how our schools and MPS performed cumulatively across all state assessments. The displayed graph is a basic distribution of school performance relative to the rest of the district. The middle bar for each subject area represents the number of schools whose percentage of students meeting expectations falls within 10 percentage points of the district's score. The orange bar then represents the number of schools below the district range, and the green bar is the number of schools above the district range. This is showing us that while we have some high-performing schools, proportionally they make up a much smaller amount relative to the rest of the schools in the district. Our distribution of schools based on their achievement results on the state assessment is weighted towards the lower end of the spectrum. Now we will take a look at each of the individual assessments that comprise the state assessment system, starting with the Wisconsin Forward Exam, which is administered in grades 3 through 8 in ELA and math, grades 4 and 8 in science, and grades 4, 8, and 10 in social studies. Here we see a breakdown of percentage of students in each of the new performance level categories across all subject areas. While the percentage of students who are meeting expectations is higher than in past years, much of that is the result of the changes in cut scores and standard setting, and therefore we are not making direct comparisons as a part of our analysis to past years. We've analyzed this year's results across student demographic groups and provided those results in the attached report. We've noted some key observations from the analysis, such as how the percentage of students meeting expectations in ELA gradually increases from 3rd grade up through 8th grade, but the percentage of students meeting expectations in math gradually decreases from 3rd grade through about 6th grade. While these findings are similar to what we have observed in our own district assessments, we are holding back on putting too much value on the magnitude of changes compared to previous years due to the changes in the reporting. Keeping that in mind, we can compare where MPS stands relative to the rest of the state, as well as other large districts in Wisconsin. In ELA, math, science, and social studies, the statewide percentages of students meeting expectations is more than double what we see here in MPS, with math having the largest gap. When compared to the cumulative data for the largest districts in the state, MPS performance is more comparable, but the gaps still exist across all subject areas. Next, we will look at the breakdown of percentages of students in each of the new performance level categories in ELA and math for our 9th and 10th grade students who take the pre-ACT, as well as ELA, math, and science for our 11th grade students taking the ACT. Like the forward exam, we are cautious to make direct comparisons to the percentage of students in each category to past years. With that said, when we do look within the current year data, we notice a trend in the grade over grade decreases in percentage of students meeting expectations in math that carries from the elementary grades through our high school grades. Like what we see on the forward exam, MPS trails the state significantly in all subject areas of the pre-ACT and ACT, while we see gaps that close slightly within a subject area when we're going from the pre-ACT in 9th and 10th grade to the ACT in 11th grade. It is more a result of the state percentages going down than our percentages going up. When we compare MPS to other large school districts in the state, gaps, while smaller, also still exist within these areas. While we can't draw meaningful conclusions from the trend analysis of students in each performance category, we are able to compare student performance over time using the average score from both the pre-ACT and the ACT. When we look at the last 3 years of ACT data and the last 2 years of pre-ACT data, student performance is relatively stagnant at all grade levels and subject areas. Additionally, at the high school level, there is a focused effort on test participation. As we can see here, the percentage of students engaging with and completing the state assessments in high school has moved in the right direction on the ACT in 11th grade, but took a slight dip this past year on the pre-ACT in 9th and 10th grade. While these percentages are not far off from the attendance rates we see at this point in the school year in some of our high schools, we are continuing to work with and support schools in their efforts to have students complete the assessments during the testing window. And finally, we have the results of the dynamic learning maps, or DLM. This is the alternate state assessment taken by students with significant cognitive disabilities. We have approximately 650 students in the district that engage with the DLM in place of either the forward exam, pre-ACT, or ACT. When we compare our performance to other students taking the DLM across Wisconsin, we find the statewide percentage of students meeting expectations in ELA is about 2 to 3 times higher than in MPS and 1.5 to 2 times higher in math. Smaller gaps exist in science, and in social studies, there's about a 10 percentage point gap. When we analyze just our data in MPS, we find that a smaller percentage of students taking DLM are meeting expectations compared to students taking the general state assessments, but similar trends also exist like that at the state level. And demographic discrepancies are less prevalent for students taking the DLM compared to other assessments, suggesting that the special education needs of these students are the biggest contributing factor to their performance. As a result of the analysis of our statewide assessment data, there are important actions taking place in the district. With the idea that this year's data are in essence a new baseline, results from subsequent years will help us measure the impact of our current instructional practices, which include recent math and reading curriculum adoptions, as well as Wisconsin Act 20 reading requirements. This work carries through how we support school and district leaders in data analysis, utilization of results, and collaborative work with various divisions within the curriculum and instruction to make connections to instructional practices that are implemented in our classrooms. As a district, we are also continuing to support testing in our schools. We do this by helping staff plan, communicate, and administer the assessments with students, while also specifically targeting support to schools facing additional challenges during the spring testing season. At the high school level, we designate district-wide testing days to put schools and students in the best position possible to have a successful experience with both the pre-ACT and the ACT. Our schools have worked to further develop their school improvement plans that are driven through root cause analysis of assessment data, resulting in a focused effort to improve student achievement in both ELA and mathematics. And finally, we anticipate getting our NAEP 2024 results in the upcoming months. Because NAEP will provide us another avenue by which we can analyze our data compared to past years, it may help provide more insight into our academic growth in reading and math, considering the limitations and interpretations we can draw from our current state assessment results. With that said, we'd be happy to take any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, I know I have one speaker slip. Are there any members on a virtual platform?
We have no virtual speakers for this item.
All right, then I would invite Quentin Claiborne to come to the front.
Hello, Quentin Claiborne, K-L-A-B-O-N. Thanks for your time. Unfortunately, the Superintendent of Public Instruction has made the test scores worthless. In my day job, I published a report called Testing Our Patients, extensively detailing how, when, and why the test score changes occurred and what effects they have. Among other things, lowering standards increased the achievement gap for income, race, and disabilities, making Milwaukee look worse compared to other districts than before. I will save pointing out specific schools for the report card review next month. Instead, I offer context for your discussion. First, the changes drop Milwaukee in its state ranking to the extent outsiders will seize on that to criticize you. Milwaukee is now third from last statewide in reading proficiency, ahead of Beloit and Menominee, and second to last in mathematics proficiency, ahead of Menominee. Yes, Wisconsin fails its indigenous children too. Second, the categories used to mean something roughly. Minimal was below grade level, basic at grade level, proficient college ready, and advanced selective college ready. Now, according to DPI itself, grade level is somewhere between approaching and meeting. Since that makes categories worthless for your interpretation, the percentiles may be more helpful to you. So for reading, approaching starts at the 18th percentile. Meeting is the 48th percentile, and advanced is the 88th percentile. It's similar for mathematics, except for advanced, 20th, 47th, and 81st. So looking at schools where fewer than 10% of kids score meeting or advanced, there are 38 in reading and 54 in mathematics. For schools with more than 50% of kids with no test or developing, there are 64 in reading and 83 in mathematics. On top of that, just don't forget that Milwaukee's Montessori and language immersion schools, whatever their other benefits, underperform schools of similar demographics statewide. It's actually the Lowells and the Milwaukee College Preparatories that really shine comparatively. I suggest copy what they are doing. Alternatively, copy Miami, the best big district, or Mississippi, a top 3 state. They fixed core reading and mathematics problems in just 6 years. Here's what you could do. Work with the MTEA to speed up Act 20 training to finish July 1st, 2025 as the law intended and not July 1st, 2026. Improvement will not start until that is complete. Only pick a new superintendent who has rolled out reading reform successfully before. Walk through classrooms to see how direct instruction is happening. Discuss reading at January's committee meeting or sooner. When NAEP comes out in January, it would crush Milwaukee to be at or near the bottom again. Please do what you can to elevate our trajectory. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Leonard.
All right, so this may take a few rounds. So first of all, let me just start with the questions first before I go anywhere else. So what is the motive for, I've been on the board for now being close to 4 years. This is the second time in 4 years that we have shifted the way we interpret data, and it really does not add any support to us trying to make any comprehensive plan on changing things. And you may not have this answer, so I don't expect you to have that, but do you have any idea of why now they would change those interpretations and cut scores?
Administration.
Bob Latterman, Director of Assessment Data. I think there's a lot of things that went into it from my understanding. In large part, whenever they go through a standard setting, And they have to, the state level is going to look at aligning those things to the standards. So on the forward exam, we see that in mathematics and ELA, they wanted to align to the new standards. And in particular with the forward exam this past year, the test was redesigned pretty significantly on the ELA side of things, in terms of the item types and the way the questions are presented to some of the students. It was a significant enough of a change that they wanted to go through those standard setting processes. And then also the testing vendor itself changed the scale scores. So that's kind of our understanding of it at this point. Like some of those things were necessary things that they took place. Why the state decides to do those or when they decide to do those things, we don't necessarily have information on.
Director Leonard.
Thank you. And then more specifically, when you talked about the changes in math and reading adoptions, and I'm going to make the assumption you were speaking to the fact that we want to change some strategies in what we're doing in our classrooms. Can you give us some examples of how that should help us improve? I need to have something pragmatic, I guess, very solid, to get a very clear idea, because as a teacher, I'd like to really see what really is going to make the difference. We just don't see those scores going up the way we should, and I'm wondering if you have some kind of insight on that.
Administration.
Director Seamson, members of the committee. So in terms of Act 20 itself with our youngest students, again, it's based upon the science of reading. So teachers will be given training specifically to use that and to develop those skills at the earliest levels so that then our students are better prepared. There have been similar attempts at different times, different kinds of programs that, whether it be DI or other things, but even our most recent work has been not only phonemic awareness, but also to build comprehension skills, because that sometimes is where we would see the gap, right? Transferring reading and then not learning to read, but learning from reading then becomes where we want our students to go. So what the state has done is, and we expect to see once everybody is trained and once it's rolled out, we do expect to see our students growing in that way. In terms of our math curriculum, this is something that was piloted in our high schools and some of our middle schools, and it did show statistically that there would be some improvement. So again, we do, have to make sure that our teachers are trained and that we implement that with fidelity. And that's some of the work that's done not only through our walks, but expressly through our plans to provide professional development, and then moving forward to monitor that is being used.
Director Leonard.
So I'm going to actually agree with Mr. Claiborne on the fact, I don't have to agree with him. I know this forever. So to me, everything is pinned on reading. So K3 through third grade, if we don't get those reading levels up to the point where they can understand everything they're reading and develop the comprehension that's needed there, I believe that it just makes everything else much more difficult. And I almost believe that there's probably possibly some kind of connection between math scores going down as the grade levels go up, partially because their reading levels do not match the technical ability to understand what's really being presented in the math material. So being a middle school science teacher for forever, I had to change the way I taught, and I've said this before, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but it becomes where you're, and I'm just doing this for the public interest, from an educator's viewpoint. I think that we have to take this much more seriously. I don't think we have to sit there and play with this, and I am concerned about the training time, and I'll bring that up as a question. I just don't believe we have time to waste when it comes to training our teachers to get on board and make this move much more quickly. In all fairness, I remember when all of us in a middle school were taught direct instruction and working with our students, and the difference was significant. In a course of 6 to 8 weeks, the first thing that I noticed was that our students were excited about reading. Some of them, for the first time, 5th, 6th grade, were understanding the material that they were actually seeing. And I'm stressing this point because I'm not going to be on this board much longer, and I just feel like we always have so many impediments in moving forward from your position, and I don't want to put you totally on the spot here because I don't want to have you oppose each other on this, but what can we do to move this faster? I mean, I feel like we're just like, this should not be in question. Our teachers should be getting trained. What is holding that process up?
Administration.
Director Simpson, members of the committee, in terms of Act 20, there are some factors that obviously this is a new rollout. It's not just upon us. We are still, as this develops, we are still waiting for some of the materials, some of the letters, some of the things from DPI, again, so they're doing the best that they can to do that as well as quickly as they can. I know that there's been some funds that still haven't been released, and that's not DPI's fault, obviously. That would help us move this forward as well. In the world of education, time is something, too, that we struggle to find time for professional development. We're working to make sure that we have that time in a manner that we can make sure that our teachers are getting the PD, and as well as it's been doing, that we can do it in a way that's sustainable for the district as well, meaning, when it can be done, how much does that cost us to do that. Those are all factors that we will do the best that we can to make sure that every single teacher receives that training.
Director Leonard.
And then just one.
Yep.
Just
you go for it.
Just, I guess what I'm going to ask for is that we receive, that this board receives frequent and regular information on the things that you've brought up, and then I'll have to look at, I'm not going to bring it up here because I need to do some studying in myself to see exactly what I want to ask. But I just want to really be totally on top of this. And then we can make contacts also as board directors to people, even at the state level, to see what kind of support we can get to help us move this forward. Thank you. Thank you.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
So two things. I think you've heard Director Simpson and I over and over again ask for consecutive, important reading updates, and if that has to be every month, then that has to be every month. I think that's fine. That's a real priority for this board. Secondly, yes, we have Mr. Thiel, who is our representation in Madison, and we should be leveraging him to either communicate with DPI or push DPI to expedite this process. And I really understand that some of that isn't necessarily in their hands, but I have an intense worry with a changing administration that this will get deprioritized. And so we need to work as quickly as possible to obtain those funds so that we can earmark them for our children. And so I will, if we need to make a motion to have a reading update back in January, or, well, yeah, I guess it's November. I'm so sorry. I was like, or earlier, which would, I'm happy to do that. So Ms. Koala, please let me know if I need to do that.
You certainly could make a motion, otherwise the chair could call for a report to come back at the call of the chair.
I guess I would prefer that it's not always at the call of the chair, because that way I think that things just kind of fall to the wayside at that point, yeah.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we have a reading update come back to the SASI committee in January.
If I could
Yep, administration.
just to clarify as well, when we speak about things such as funding, I did want to make sure that we acknowledge that, the state superintendent of schools in her budget did provide for some of that funding. Again, the holdup is that it needs to be released, right? The money that's already been committed to this is still being held up, and there's additional funds that have been put forward. So those are things that really do make a difference, right? Especially when we talk about training, when we talk about the materials, when we talk about that is something that I don't want to get that confused with, that somehow DPI is the holdup on this. They have been pushing forward, and we just need some help in making sure those that make some other decisions do their part.
Absolutely. Director Gokul Gandhi.
Yeah, and I totally hear you, and this is a call, a direct call for Mr. Kuyenga at the MMAC. If you want to talk about a future-ready workforce, this is the time to step up and get your business community, to get your members in Madison to release these funds, because we can't do anything if the kids in our city can't read, and this needs to be top priority.
Thank you. I believe we have a motion?
Yes.
Yes. So can we vote on that and then we can continue discussion?
You can debate the motion that's on the floor, or continue your discussion. You don't have to call the roll right after a motion is made. Yes.
All righty, any other discussion? All right, seeing, Director Ferguson?
Well, this is, again, I said day 3 on this job. So bear with me, but my question is, even with the motion on the floor, I'm as equally concerned about math outcomes as with reading. So I don't know how to do this because, again, this is day number 3. But if we're calling for another report, Director Gokul Gandhi asked for reading, but I would also ask for math as well. So I don't know how to do that, Jill. I need a little help with that.
You could move a substitute motion that incorporates Director Gokul Gandhi's motion plus something additional that you would like.
Okay. That makes it a little easier. So I substitute move to add a report for math to Director Gokul Gandhi's motion for a report on reading.
Director Gokul Gandhi, did you have any comments?
Yeah, I just want to ask the chair and the superintendent, so, and I realize this is day 3, so please, this is just also clarification for us. When is the last time we had a report on math? And the only reason I'm making a specific point to be called out on reading, I completely agree with you. I think math is of the utmost importance. But given Act 20, given the urgency with which we need to act on the funds, I think really hitting hard on the reading in January is important for me. So I just wanted to ask you too, in your schedule of SASI meetings, one, where does math show up? And then also wanted to ask administration, with the textbook adoption, with what we're doing, when were you planning on bringing back an update for math? So if we could just get some clarity around that,
Sure.
that would be helpful.
So first, administration, do we have any upcoming updates on specifically related to math?
Director Simpson, members of the committee, Ms. Mims Howell will talk about math in a little bit, but I also wanted to point out that when we did roll out Act 20, we did provide some outlines regarding PDs and things of that nature, and when we get more information in terms of letters and things that will be provided by DPS, we'll share that as well. And again, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that whenever we get those funds released, whenever we get those opportunities, we would also plan on informing you of that. But in terms of math, I will hand it over to Chief Mims Howell.
Thank you, Superintendent. Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Jennifer Mims Howell, Chief Academic Officer. So how I can answer the question for both informing you, the board, about mathematics as well as our Act 20 supports is that with the new math adoption, basically this is our year to make sure we can level everything, making sure that we follow our pacing guides, making sure we offer professional development in that area. As far as our training for Act 20, and we've been using letters, which is offered to us by Lexia, we've been using our professional development days. And so we could definitely give reports on both in January. However, it would just be about the trainings. We wouldn't have any baseline data. We wouldn't have anything showing an increase in students' outcomes. It would just be more about what we've done, how we've supported the teachers. And when I say what we've done, is what we've done to show the teachers' support. We could talk about our modeling in the classroom. We could talk about our differentiation in our trainings for our K-8 schools versus our high schools versus what we've been doing with middle schools. We could give you that type of information. Along with what our letters training was, we are going to have another training in January, our next professional development day. We could talk about some of the things that have been looked at, again, but there would be no student outcomes for either one at this time.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
Okay, that's fine, but here's what I would love to see. I would love to see a reminder of our baseline data and what is our goal? What's the SMART goal, right? So what's the SMART goal around teachers trained what's the SMART goal around pacing guides? What's the SMART goal around this year? We are looking to have a 1%, 2%, 3% increase. So, because what I don't want is for us to talk about this in like a meta sense and then have no idea of, okay, well, we talked about this in January, then we got results back, and now we're like, oh, we succeeded, we didn't succeed, we did better than we thought. So I would really like for us in January, when you come back with that report, I want to see some like, here is where we're at. We have data of where we're at, and this is where we're going, not only for our students, but also for our educators. I would also like for the administration to, and so I'm fine with the substitute motion, so we can move forward with that with a report on math and reading. I just want the record to read that. The second thing I would like for you to explain, so just really explicitly, is the delay or the extended approach to teacher training due to solely the funds, or is there another confounding variable that is not allowing us to get our teachers trained before next school year starts?
Funding is part of that. Again, teacher turnover is another factor, and then time. Finding time is something that is a constant struggle in terms of whether that be after school time, weekend time, during the school day is a model that some schools are using, but it's not always practical or effective due to whether that be a teacher absence or things of that nature impact all of that. So one of the major factors is time and an ability to, direct PD as needed.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
This is probably going to be my hottest and most controversial take I've had on the board, but genuinely, I feel like if we do nothing else in the next 8 months and we only focus on reading, I think that would help all boats rise. And so I am a big proponent on prioritization of this as the foundation of every other element of a child's journey through education. And so that's just my point of view. I know others can disagree, but I really want us to have a hard, serious, it's not, we know we live in a resource time strapped environment. That is just the nature of what our public schools are facing. And so my plea to you is, how do we rank this as the #1 priority? That means other things might have to stop, and I am fundamentally okay with that.
Director Steamson, members of the committee, in terms of letters training, we've already, in terms of our K through 3 students, we've made that the #1 priority with the time that we have control over. So on our non-student contact days that we have, that is built in, that is the training. Obviously then for our students at the upper grade levels, that focus will be mathematics and training for that new adoption. Again, the challenge, though, is outside of those days that we have control over, how do we find the time, and we're working to try to identify where we can do that.
Yep, and I would just really pitch for during your bargaining conversations during that time that, again, if our kids can't read, there is really no hope. And so I am just, this is a general plea, this is a plea to our listening audience. When you come to testify, when you think about our school system, whether we need to incentivize it or have a push that this needs to be the #1 priority. Again, I understand there is not going to be a time that we live in abundance from here on out. And so let's make some hard decisions to prioritize what we need to prioritize and ask for the things we need.
Thank you, Director Gokul Gandhi. Any other comments? Director Ferguson.
Yeah, I thank you, Chair. And I just want to piggyback off of what Director Gokul Gandhi just said. Our kids being able to read and add and those fundamentals to learning are of a top priority for me, and I know for everybody on this dais here. And so I don't know what that means. I don't know if we've put together any specialized task force or anything around this particular item, but I think it's of paramount importance that we kind of get a hold of this. And this is day 3 for me on the job, but this is very, very of crucial importance that we develop a plan for how we're going to turn this around for our city and for our kids. And I don't know if this already exists, but do we have a plan in terms of in increments? What do we want to achieve this year or by this time next year, so that we can ensure that we're not sitting here having the same conversation a year from now?
Administration.
Chair Simpson, members of the board, Jennifer Mims Howe, Chief Academic Officer. So we do have a training timeline. We begun with our school leaders at the end of last school year as we prepared for what was coming. For the end of November, we are going to be coming up with some videos that teachers will be able to watch in the interim regarding the Ames Web assessment for our students. We also are preparing to make sessions so that our parent coordinators also know how to talk to families about what is coming up for Act 20 and some of the things that are going to be coming down from DPI. So our plan is to continue training. Same thing with the mathematics. So when we received our new textbook adoption, we began training this summer. Teachers were allowed to come in to different sessions and they used the pacing guides and they made activities so that they would have that opportunity. So we're looking at maybe doing some of that second semester as well with some of the CSI dollars that the district is receiving. So we do have plans on the training. As Mr. Galvan stated, we are using the days that have been given to us. We also can offer voluntary training for people to come in and to learn more and just to have that professional approach to looking at more information that Milwaukee Public Schools is putting together on how it will play out in our school district. But we had meetings today talking about our Act 20 planning as well as our math, looking at what we're going to be doing for second semester, making sure that we've had all the foundational trainings this first semester that people have a good footing in, and now we can take them to the next level.
Thank you. Any follow-up?
Yes. How are the plan that we have in place for teacher training? What kind of plan do we have in place for student achievement?
Administration.
Chair Simpson, other members of the committee, Jennifer Mims Howe, we always want students to achieve, but remembering that the mathematics that we looked at last year, or we used last year, doesn't really correlate to what we are using in our new textbook adoption. However, there are pre and post tests that students take throughout the classroom. Teachers also can use information that they have in the classroom. We've been using the CABs as well. So our goal is always to have students increase, making sure that students individually move up different levels, but also looking at an achievement for our K-6 students, our K-5 students, our middle school students, and then our high school students. So that's information that I can get together and to look at what our trajectory is as we look at our school improvement plans, as we look at our strategic plan. I can make sure you have that information before full board.
Thank you. And just
Yeah, that might also be good information to have at the January meeting for us to review and as part of the conversation. Director Ferguson.
And I'm assuming that these plans that we have and that we're developing are considerate of best practices or other districts around the nation that have done particularly well in circumstances such as the ones we're facing now?
Administration.
Chair Simpson, members of the board, yes. Director Ferguson, to answer your question, yes. We look at what the Council of Great Cities Schools is doing, which are school districts very similar to Milwaukee, but we're also comparing ourselves, as Mr. Latterman spoke about tonight, to the other districts in the state of Wisconsin. So yes, we are planning to look at what the best practices are and what the strategies other successful school districts are using.
Director Ferguson.
Thank you.
Great. Any other comments or questions? All right. I believe we have a motion on the floor that needs to be voted on.
Correct. The motion by Director Ferguson is to direct the administration to bring a report back on math and a report back on reading in January. Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Ferguson.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
And Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that update. Looking forward to hearing more in January. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Next item is item 4, a report with possible action on advanced placement dual enrollment, and international baccalaureate outcomes. This is an informational item. Although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Eduardo Galvan, interim superintendent. This evening, I am joined by Eric Radomski and Dr. Natalie Collins and Dr. Hill to share a summary report on our AP, IB, and dual enrollment programming. Following the sharing of the report, the team is prepared to answer questions you may have. Thank you. Mr. Radomski.
Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee. My name is Eric Radomski, Manager of Career and Technical Education. I'm joined by Dr. Natalie Collins, Director of Research Assessment and Data, and Dr. John Hill, Director of College and Career Readiness. Our report tonight will provide you with information on advanced placement, dual enrollment, and international baccalaureate courses and outcomes for 2023-24. Essentially, it will cover all possible ways that last year's students earned college credit or potential college credit while in high school. Comparison data from prior years is also included. In the 5 priorities for success, our focus is on increasing academic achievement and accountability. And in terms of the strategic plan, tonight's report will focus on student achievement and graduation. So there are 3 ways that our high school students can earn or potentially earn college credit while in high school, and I'll start with the bottom here with dual enrollment. Dual enrollment courses are classes that, any classes that allow high school students to enroll in college level courses and earn both high school and college credits simultaneously. These courses are offered through partnerships we have with local colleges and universities like UWM and MATC, among many others. In 2023-24, almost 1,600 students participated in dual enrollment courses, earning 6,687 credits. Dual enrollment enables students to potentially shorten the time and costs needed for a college degree or certificate. They are exposed to college-level work, able to explore subjects not typically offered at the high school level, and in demonstrating their ability to succeed in college-level courses, students can strengthen their college applications. There are 4 types of dual enrollment in MPS. Transcripted credit is where students take college-level classes at their home high school taught by certified MPS teachers. The courses mirror the post-secondary curriculum, and the credits earned are documented on the student's official transcript. These credits are often transferable to other colleges and universities. Contracted courses, like transcripted credit, are often taught within our own MPS schools, but could also be taught at a college or university. These courses are taught by college and/or university instructors, and students earn credits documented on a college transcript. The M-Cubed College Connections program is a collaborative initiative with our partners UWM and MATC, as you've heard earlier tonight. It enables high school juniors and seniors to fulfill their graduation requirements while earning college credits in one of 3 tracks: education, nursing, or general. Beyond earning credits, students are automatically accepted into MATC or UWM, streamlining their transition to college. And finally, both the Early College Credit Program and Start College Now program are state programs. Early College Credit allows students to enroll in courses within the University of Wisconsin system, private nonprofit colleges, or tribal colleges. The cost is shared between the school district and the state. Applications for participation are due from the student by February 1st for summer courses, March 1st for fall courses, and October 1st for spring semester courses. Start College Now allows students to take courses at Wisconsin technical colleges. The school district covers the cost of tuition, fees, and books for approved courses, and deadlines are the same as for the Early College Credit Program.
Advanced placement, or AP courses, are college-level classes that allow high school students to earn college credit and strengthen their academic profile. These courses span a variety of subjects and end with standardized exams. In our district, 27 different AP courses are offered, and in the 23-24 school year, over 1,800 students participated in AP courses. In addition to the opportunity to earn college credit through successful AP exam scores, AP courses offer academic benefits. These courses are typically more rigorous than standard classes, helping students develop critical thinking and study skills. Taking AP courses also shows colleges that a student is willing to take on challenges, which can strengthen their college application, provided they perform well. Additionally, students who take AP courses often feel better prepared for the demands of college-level coursework. The International Baccalaureate, or IB program, is a globally recognized educational framework designed to develop critical thinking, intercultural understanding, and strong academic skills. IB courses are offered at 4 high schools in our district, with over 1,400 students participating in the 2023-24 school year. Grades 9 through 10 students take middle years program, or MYP courses. Grades 11 through 12 students take either the diploma program, DP, or the career program courses, CP, with the opportunity to earn an IB diploma. IB diplomas are highly regarded by universities worldwide and can enhance a student's college application. Like AP, many colleges offer credit or advanced placement for successful IB exam scores. The IB program also emphasizes research skills and a global perspective, preparing students for diverse environments. It promotes personal growth through community service, reflection, and individual research projects. The key difference between dual enrollment and AP and IB courses is how credits are earned. In dual enrollment, students receive college credit on a college transcript upon successful completion of the course. In AP or IB, students can earn college credit based on their exam scores, with colleges deciding how they recognize and award the credit. Here is data for AP and IB exam outcomes over the past 10 years. You'll notice that the table reflects a side-by-side comparison of the percentage of students who earned a score of 3 or better on AP exams and the percentage of students who earned a score of 4 or better on IB exams. An AP exam score of 3 is often considered qualified and shows a basic, competent understanding and may earn college credit at some colleges and universities, although more selective institutions may require a higher score of 4 or 5. An IB exam score of 4 is generally seen as satisfactory and can be eligible for college credit or placement at many institutions globally, especially those that recognize the IB program curriculum. It's important when looking at the exam data to understand what the denominator or total number of exams taken is. Students can opt to take multiple exams or no exams, and this chart reflects the percentage of exams with a passing score, not the students. Over the past 10 years, the annual percentage of students earning at least a 3 on AP exams has been as low as 19% and as high as just over 30%. The last 5 years have seen the highest percentage of students earning a 3 or better. In the 23-24 school year, just over 1,900 exams were taken by students, with 30% earning a score of 3 or higher. Over the same period, the annual percentage of students earning at least a 4 on IB exams has been as low as 55% and as high as 69%. In the 2023-24 school year, just over 1,200 exams, just under over 1,200 students took an IB test, with 694 students, or 56.3%, earning a score of 4 or higher. Assessments for each IB class vary based on the content area, but are made up of both internal and externally assessed work. The overall scores for each course range between 1 and 7. Students must receive 24 points to receive the diploma, an average score of 4 in each class. This is where the idea of 4 as a passing score comes from, in addition to the fact that most colleges tend to award credit for scores of 4 and above, though it differs by each institution. The diploma program curriculum is made up of 6 subject groups, and diploma candidates must take and test in all 6 subject areas. This past school year, the district had 108 diploma program candidates, with 39 students, or 36.1%, earning the DP diploma. The career program diploma includes at least 2 courses from the IB the IB diploma program, the CP core curriculum, and engagement in a career-related study to prepare students for higher education, an internship or apprenticeship, or a position in a designated field of interest. This past school year, the district had 64 career program candidates, with 55 or 85.9% earning a CP diploma.
On the dual enrollment side, this table reflects the total number of college credits earned over the past 7 years. You will notice a steady increase in the number of credits earned, with the exception of the 2 years disrupted by COVID. In the past 3 years, the number of these credits earned has increased almost 70%. The course passage rate for all dual enrollment courses in 2023-24 was 79.6%.
This chart compares the race and ethnicity district-wide with the demographic makeup of participants in AP and IB courses and dual enrollment. Key takeaways from the data include the following. The first two clusters on the graph represent AP test takers and course enrollment. This is unique AP test takers and all AP. When we compare these groups to the district's overall demographics, we see that Asian students are more represented in AP courses, especially among those who take the AP exams, compared to the district. White students make up a larger portion of the enrollment in test takers compared to the district, while Black students make up a smaller portion in both areas. IB course enrollment is shown in the third and fourth clusters on the graph. The third cluster, labeled All IB DPCP courses, includes students taking multiple IB courses, while the fourth cluster, Unique IB DPCP students, shows the number of distinct students who have taken at least one IB course. In both data sets, we see that the white students make up a larger portion of the enrollment compared to the district. Black students make up a smaller portion, and Hispanic students are more represented compared to the district's demographics. The fifth cluster on the graph, labeled All DE, represents dual enrollment participants. Overall, the demographic makeup of dual enrollment closely matches the district's, except for Asian students who are slightly higher.
The need to improve proficiency rates on exams. Advanced placement and international baccalaureate courses offer several potential benefits that we discussed earlier. Rigorous academic challenges of the course, potentially improving students' critical thinking and study skills, preparing them for the rigors of post-secondary, and strengthening their college applications, all while remaining on the high school campus. Remember, the one big difference between dual enrollment, advanced placement, or international baccalaureate is there are no exams that solely determine whether a student earns college credit or potential college credit. The percentage of students doing well on advanced placement exams has been relatively low in comparison to international baccalaureate exams. As stated before, a key variable to keep in mind when looking at the exam data is the denominator, or the total number of exams. We know that the participation rate numbers for international baccalaureate exams are lower in comparison to the advanced placement exams. Advanced exam proficiency rates are influenced by how well the students know the material and are prepared for the exam. The greater the percentage of students that know the material, the higher the percentage of passing scores. The greater number of students that take the exam, the greater the number of passing scores are needed to increase the percentage. Expanding opportunities to all students and schools. At the district level, the demographics for dual enrollment are quite close to the district demographic percentages, with the largest differences showing underrepresentation of Black students and overrepresentation of Asian students. However, the AP and IB participation rates by race ethnicity percentages suggest a need to ensure these opportunities are available to all students. For both proficiency rates on exams and expanding opportunities, a deeper dive into the data disaggregated by school is needed. Annually, we meet with school teams made up of high school programmers, special education supervisors, transition coordinator, high school counselors, and high school, college, and career center advisors to review and evaluate enrollment trends, course and/or program selection processes, disproportionate course enrollments, and student awards and scholarships to address some of these needs. Our next steps include the following. In addition to continuing the analysis of course and exam outcomes, there are several ways we can improve the number of students who successfully complete in courses leading to college credit or potential credit. For dual enrollment, we have and will continue to attempt to get more teachers credentialed to teach transcripted courses. At the CTE Professional Development in August, representatives from MATC presented to all CTE teachers, CTE Career and Technical Education, teachers on the processes to become credentialed and obtain approval to teach a course for dual enrollment. That professional development has already proven beneficial. We have already have 4 more courses in 24-25 than in 23-24. This will enable us to offer more courses for dual enrollment in more schools, and we will continue to seek additional courses to offer for dual enrollment. It is a topic we cover with our career and technical education teachers throughout the year, and we encourage them to continue looking for courses that align with their career pathway to offer for dual enrollment. Milwaukee Public Schools also made a strategic investment through the Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief Funds, ESSER, to cover tuition costs of master's degrees in core content areas, to expand the number of teachers who are credentialed to teach dual enrollment within the high schools. Already, we have more teachers credentialed and additional classes being offered in math, English, and world language. English 10 AP seminar course was added as a course option for schools last spring to increase advanced placement offerings within the existing English course structure. It serves as a replacement for the traditional English 10 course. This course is currently offered in 12 high schools. We will conduct an analysis at the end of the year of the course's student outcomes. The M-Cube College Connections team continues to explore other potential pathways, including pathways that lead to a technical diploma as potential future offerings. Improving proficiency rates of advanced placement exams is a critical next step. The true value of advanced placement is the rigor of the course itself. The exam and potential credits are definitely a nice bonus for students. We are currently looking at student data connected to advanced placement exams to ensure that we are encouraging students with the greatest chance for success to participate in the exam, as well as having conversations with students who may not be prepared to take the exam. This is not to deny students access or opportunity, rather to ensure that they understand the level of commitment needed to be successful on the exam. More importantly, we are working with the College Board to lead our content specialists and teachers through an item analysis of exams from this past spring. And our item analysis will help identify the specific content that may need more attention and time in the different classes. At this time, we are ready to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, are there any members of the public who wish to make comments?
We do have one individual on the virtual platform.
Great, let's go ahead with that.
That speaker is Mr. Jim Nelson. If you could please state your name, spell your last name, and then give your comments.
Sure, this is Jim Nelson, N-E-L-S-E-N, and I'm an advanced placement teacher within the district. I'm very concerned about this report because when I listen to it, I don't hear any research-backed strategies that would actually improve advanced placement or international baccalaureate scores. I'm just hearing a lot of vague generalities that basically come down to we're just going to try to do a better job. One research-backed strategy that we could use is to increase the number of instructional days for AP and IB courses, except a year ago, the school board voted to go in the opposite direction and remove 14 instructional days from the beginning of the year and put them at the end of the year, despite the testimony from every student who was there at the meeting that an exception should be made for AP and IB diploma schools, of which there are a total of 9 high schools that offer those programs. We're not talking about a lot of schools. We're not talking about inconveniencing a lot of people. We're just talking about doing about what's right for kids. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. You have the data in front of you, and you can see that in 2017, AP reached a major turning point, and that was when you adopted the early start calendar and gave them the instructional days. I shudder to think what is going to happen this spring when the kids go and take their exams having had 10% fewer instructional days than in the past. One of the things that you were told in spring when you approved the calendar, as a matter of fact, you were told this by Dr. Hill, is that there would be a summer academy that students could attend to try to make up for some of those days. It is my understanding that almost no students enrolled in that program, and so I'd like to know how many students did enroll and why wasn't it promoted better. I'd also like to know why there is no summer academy in tonight's, for advanced placement or IB students in tonight's presentation on the Summer Academy, which is coming up soon. And I'd also like to know why we have not had any Saturday academies, despite Dr. Hill saying there would be Saturday academies. We are now more than half way through the first semester, and there has been none. So I'm just wondering, what the heck are we actually going to do to try to make students successful in the district, because we seem to have undone everything that worked. Thank you.
And Madam Secretary, that is the only speaker.
That's correct, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. If it's okay with committee members, I'd like to, I did have those questions down in my notes if nobody else had asked them, because we did receive a letter. So I'm just wondering if you could respond to first the enrollment numbers for the Summer Academy of 2024. Will there be a Summer Academy for 2025? And the Saturday academies as well. Are we offering them, or are we going to be offering them? And administration.
Director Sampson, members of the committee, Dr. John Hill, Director of College Career Readiness. Yes, there was courses offered this past summer. I do not have the enrollment numbers in front of me. I would remind everybody that Summer Academy is optional for students and parents, so it is their choice to attend. Information was provided to schools, as well as we made direct contact with families over the summer. We can get the enrollment numbers to the board following this meeting. I think there was some more questions there.
Yeah, so the speaker also asked if there would be a Summer Academy for 2025.
Yes, there is a Summer Academy for 2025, and that's item number 6 on tonight's agenda. I would point out that no courses are listed on the PowerPoint, so that should not be interpreted as we're excluding any courses.
And then just the last question that the speaker had asked was the Saturday sessions.
Yes, there will be Saturday sessions. Looking at last year's attendance, we're redesigning it a little bit, so it will be later in the year where students feel more compelled to participate. We're also looking at allowing the students' home schools to have sessions after school. One of the things we have noticed with students is they're not always comfortable going to somebody else's school.
Okay, thank you. Do committee members wish to ask comments or flip that, ask questions or make comments. Director Gokul Gandhi.
So just, I know you said the courses aren't listed, but just to be explicit, will there be courses offered around AP in the summer academy?
Administration.
Director Gokul Gandhi, Chair Seamson, members of the committee, John Hill, Director of College Career Readiness. Yes, it is the current plan to offer that. As you will hear in the upcoming item on number 6, there are some factors that could influence course offerings for summer, and that would be the additional information we received on Act 20. So what will the expectations and the volume be for Act 20? Because we're on a set budget, essentially. And then the other factor is how well our high school students do during the school year. Because if they do well, that means we need to offer fewer credit recovery courses. If our students are struggling during the school year, then we need to provide additional credit recovery opportunities so they can stay on track and graduate. But yes, it is the plan to offer that.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
So I do think it would be helpful, if I remember correctly, AP exams are in May, correct? Yes? Yes? Okay, I'm seeing yes. So in the June SASI meeting, I think what would be really helpful is to look at the data of what the scores were this year compared since we made the calendar change, and then to assess from there, because I agree with you, if kids have done comparatively well to the previous year, then there are, as we just talked about in the reading, there are other things to prioritize. And I'm fine with having a decision that goes to prioritization of what we said. But one, we need to be clear about that we have to say no to things, and that is okay, but we just have to be explicit about that. But I do think it would be helpful to have a public conversation around what does that data look like for AP scores given the calendar change, since that is something I'm hearing from teachers who are teaching AP courses. So I'm happy to make a motion. I know that that's also something it's like far away. So, but I'm curious to hear from administration what they think and how we proceed.
Administration.
Director Gokul Gandhi, Chair Seamson, members of the committee. We are more than happy to come back with and do a comparison of the test data. We may not have it in time for the June board. That would be the only thing. But as soon as we get it, we're more than happy to do so. I would also point out a couple of things. You know, I know the calendar is still kind of a hot topic, emotional, what have you. The majority of the state is on the traditional calendar, and the state average for AP scores at 3 or higher for 22-23 was 66%. And for us, on the early start calendar that year, it was 24.6%. Now, last year we were at 30%. We don't know the state average at this point. That's why I'm referencing 22-23. I'm not trying to be evasive or anything of that nature. I would also, if we could go back to slide 6, I would also point out that in 17, we switched over to the early start calendar for 17-18, we switched to the early start calendar for all of our high schools. And we saw roughly 0.4% growth from the previous year, 2016-17. And it was actually the same level of 15-16, and it was lower than 14-15. The following year, 18-19, it did go up to 23.2%. 19-20 is kind of one of those you put an asterisk next to because that was pandemic, and the test format was different, and fewer students took the test. So while I do understand a lot of people reason that additional instructional or additional days is going to increase our test performance, so to speak, it's not a guarantee. Quite frankly, instruction, school culture, and climate are going to have a much bigger impact than additional days. So I just want to share that as we look at the data. Yes, we've seen growth over time, and we're excited about that. But right now, it would not be appropriate, maybe, to attribute it solely to we switched the calendar.
Yeah, and I hear that, and I am also not persuaded one way or the other that that is the main factor. I think what I would like to see is a data-driven discussion around what that looks like, because if you come back to us and say it's 0.4%, well, okay, that's not statistically significant, and then we can put that discussion to rest and continue, right? But since there is continued discussion around this, I think making it a priority to have that conversation will be important in committee. And then the second thing I guess I wanted to understand, so if you don't have those scores, if they take the test in May, I guess when are you deciding your course catalog for Summer Academy? And then how are we going to adequately understand the need or just the desire from kids and students and their families to have that structured time to practice?
Administration.
Director Gopal-Gandhi, Chair Simpson, members of the committee. So what we offer specifically around AP was a course around writing, because that is one of the key components to success, is being able to communicate clearly your answers on the exams, other than, of course, math in some respects. But so we offer more general skill type courses. The writing course was worth a half a credit. We do not start the class in summer because, again, it's optional. So it wouldn't be fair to students who are unable to attend summer to start school and have their peers already have 4 weeks of class. So we will, again, offer the same type of courses to help build skills that are universal, that will help students do better in their AP or IB course. And we'll have those identified in time for students and families to sign up for.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. So did you want that in the data brought back maybe, as soon as it's available, June or August it would be, yeah, whenever. Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions from committee members? Seeing none. All right, thank you so much for that report. All right, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 5, action on approval of areas to be open for textbook study during the 2024-25 school year for texts to be used beginning with the 25-26 school year. The recommendation is that the board approve the areas to be open for textbook study during the 24-25 school year for use beginning with the 25-26 school year.
Thank you. Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Eduardo Galvan, interim superintendent. We are asking your approval to open a textbook study for the K-12 world languages. With board approval, the committee will be formed no later than February 2025, and we will work to bring you a recommendation in May of 2025. The proposed adoption aligns the criteria to include the availability of high-quality materials in American Sign Language, French, German, Chinese, Japanese, and Spanish, AP and IB Spanish, French, and German, and Immersion French, German, Italian, and Spanish. The team is here with me this evening, led by Renee Laird-Adelon, and we are prepared to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Good, okay.
Good evening, Director Simpson and members of the committee. In addition to the information given by Mr. Galvan, I also would like to add that our last adoption for world languages for K-8 Spanish was 2017, and for other languages, including French and German, was about 20 years ago.
Thank you for that perspective.
And so we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you. We do have 2 speaker slips, so if I could please have Julie Happerman come forward, and after that, it will be Larry Hoffman.
Hi, Julie Hapeman, Hapeman. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. I came here not only as an MPS teacher of students with visual impairments, but as chair of the State Superintendent's Blind and Visual Impairment Education Advisory Council. The reason I am here is because of a concern over the timeline the district has used for textbook adoption. As you know, students with disabilities often require materials in an alternative format, and the production of these materials can take a long time. For Braille textbooks, if we put in our textbook request in early spring, and when I'm saying we, I'm saying our program, that can be considered late if the textbook has never been before converted to a Braille file. Textbook adoption in the summer can pretty much guarantee that Braille editions will not be available for our students until well into the school year. Per DPI's Information Bulletin 20.02, the U.S. Department of Education has stated that timely access to appropriate and accessible instructional materials, or AIM, is an inherent component of public agencies' obligation under IDEA to ensure that a free and appropriate public education, or FAPE, is available for children with disabilities, and that children with disabilities participate in general education curriculum as specified in their individualized education program, IEPs. In Wisconsin, all students eligible for materials in an accessible format must receive their materials at the same time as their non-disabled peers. In some instances, original formats are highly technical and/or include a high number of tactile graphics and take additional time to convert into an accessible format. In order to meet the requirement that students who require accessible formats receive their materials at the same time as their non-disabled peers, local education agencies must be aware of the content of the original formats that need to be converted into accessible formats and obtain educational materials as early as possible. When an LEA purchases curriculum, they must ensure publishers of instructional materials submit their electronic files to the NIMAC, which is the National Instructional Materials Access Center, in a timely manner, and students who require accessible formats receive instructional material at the same time as their non-disabled peers. Please remember our students who require alternative formats when considering textbook adoptions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Larry Hoffman.
Good evening, Larry Hoffman, Hoffman. I'm a member of MICA, but this evening I'm speaking for myself. Director Ferguson, welcome. I have worked with students who I mentor, and I've found that teachers they've had, perhaps because they work in particular schools, utilize programmed instruction, that is, computerized instruction, more than textbooks. I don't know if this applies to foreign language instruction or not. Of course, this is a trend in education, but what I would like to ask is this: how do you expect parents to be able to help their young scholars if the parents cannot see what goes on in those computerized lessons, or even see what those lessons are about? Instead of being able to see the whole of a lesson by looking at a couple of pages in the textbook or workbook, you generally have to go through an entire lesson on the computer to understand what's being asked. I, as a longtime educator with some knowledge of curriculum and instruction, find that when a lesson is computerized and I try to assist kids or provide alternative ways of dealing with a topic, my ability to do so is cut off at the knees because I can't see the lesson without doing at least part of it myself. So I ask you, when instructional materials are chosen, does your Department of Curriculum consider the fact that textbooks are, so to speak, open books, and computerized lessons are black boxes? And does the department approve of the circumstance that many computerized lessons, which could be presented in a straightforward manner, are turned into games or silly cartoons? And please don't tell me that computerized lessons keep up with current knowledge better than textbooks, or that computers are less expensive or more durable than textbooks. Can anyone here address this issue?
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? No? Director Leonard?
So, first of all, I thank both of you that spoke in the audience, because it's good to have a better perspective on this. And this is not, first of all, I don't have any problem with adopting the textbooks that are 20 years old. I find that sort of funny in a way. So in other words, I have parents that actually are reading the same books that their children were reading. That's really sort of quite ridiculous. I'm sorry. That makes no sense to me. So yes, we need to move forward. And I will also speak to Mr. Hoffman's statements with regards to textbooks. I would totally agree with you on that. As a teacher, computerized programs are all well and good for interventions and things like looking up some basic information or whatnot. But when it comes to actually learning lessons and having to dig through information, and the best example I can give is with more complex math applications. So you really need, for those books when they go home, you really need to be able to look at the full book, get the answers, and get a better idea of what's going on. So I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. My concern, and I guess I have to ask a question, with regards to the Braille, it's already almost like we're not going to reach that place where we need to reach. So let's be honest about that. Is there some way that we can circumvent that situation? I know we may not have 1,000 students that are blind in our district, but even if there's 3 or 4 that cannot receive the information as the same as their I was going to say colleagues, they're actual students that they're in class with, we are really doing them a disservice. So I guess I'm asking that question. I don't know if you even have that answer, to be honest with you, but I'm asking it just the same. Thank you.
Administration.
Director Simpson and Director Leonard, members of the committee, Renee Laird-Adelong, District Library Media Specialist. I don't currently have that information as far as being able to get the Braille books at the same time as the other books, but I will definitely research that information and follow up with you.
Director Gokul-Gandhi.
And maybe, I'm sorry, Superintendent Galvan, did you?
Thank you. Director Simpson, members of the committee. In terms of textbooks and computerized text as well, when we get adoptions, we do get textbooks, and we also have computerized versions, so to speak, so that we have options and our students have options. You know, as much as some people want a textbook, they are available, others don't. We've often received complaints that, you know, carrying home 4 or 5 of those textbooks is a little bit difficult at times, but we do have that option of either computerized or handheld text.
Thank you. Director Gokul-Gandhi.
I guess just in terms of like best practice, you know, is there a policy? Do we need a policy, or can it be just a consideration that anytime we have a separate adoption, we're thinking about our, you know, differently abled learners, because that presents as an equity issue. So I'm just wondering, you know, is that just something, now hearing that, can we really make it an effort that anytime we go through this process that we're always thinking about children who learn differently?
Administration.
Director Simpson, Director Gokul Gandhi, members of the committee, most definitely, we can make sure that we are putting an emphasis on making sure that there is equity within the textbook adoption process.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
And I guess, I know you said you were going to look into it. Can we just make sure that that becomes a communication that is sent to our educators who cater towards our deaf and hard of hearing children so that they understand really explicitly? And I think at this point, we know that it will probably be late just because of the timing, but I think just being really honest about that and then having a corrective plan on the back end and letting them know when those resources are going to be deployed to them is how we can mitigate conversation around that now, and then just moving forward, being mindful of that I would be really appreciative. And can the board be notified when that what is
When that
the, yes, I'm so
communication
sorry, I
occurs.
really lost my train of
That's
thought.
okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, so administration, can you, one, make sure that you're reaching out to staff involved, and then two, notify the committee, the members of the committee or the board, I guess, when that occurs? Administration.
Director Simpson, members of the board, most definitely love it, yes.
Thank you. And Director Gokul Gandhi.
And I'm sorry, you just have the coolest glasses, and I feel like I never meet a librarian who doesn't have cool glasses, so.
This is true. This is very, I can speak to that from personal experience, yes. Director O'Halloran.
In order to expedite the process, I was just wondering about the feasibility of moving up the timeline from February 2025 to, I don't know, how long it takes to convene the process, but is January, is December possible? And if not, can you build it in? So if, as part of the evaluation, to be, if there's a rubric to say the availability, the pre-existing availability of the document, that is already translated, so we're not starting fresh. Like, that gives them a leg up on, like, if it's apples to apples, like, we can build that in. So it was two-part question. One, can we move up the timeline? And two, I don't want to put my thumb too much on the scales for anything, but is it possible that there are materials that are already meeting our needs?
Administration.
Director Stevenson, members of the committee, in terms of meeting up the timeline, I don't want to say yes or no. My immediate inclination is we want to make sure we're doing this in the appropriate manner. I know in prior adoptions recently, we wanted to make sure that there were some concerns that people didn't have enough time to commit to the process, that we didn't communicate it as effectively. So we want to make sure that we do that right. I do believe, to your point, though, that there must be, and maybe I'm wrong, materials that already are in formats that are accessible. So we will certainly examine that on the front end. And in terms of adjusting timelines, I don't want to say yes or no. My inclination is to say that might be a little bit difficult to move that up at this point, but we can certainly get back to you.
Right. Director O'Halloran, a suggestion was made that we have this, maybe just a brief update on this in the month of December, give administration an opportunity to look to see what they can find out and have an update brought back to us. Director O'Halloran.
Yeah, so I think this is for action, so we have to move this forward. So you're saying approve it with the requirement that an update come back in December?
Correct.
Okay, I was going to forward it to the board with no recommendation and allow them time to say whether it's feasible to move it up, but.
Can they respond in a week?
I don't know.
Administration.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Jennifer Mims Howe, Chief Academic Officer. We recently brought Administrative Policy 726 for textbook adoption for board approval in the spring, where we made some additions and some modifications to our timeline. So at this point, we wouldn't be able to move it up. We need to follow that procedure. We also put some more things in place, which did include looking at materials for our students that learn differently. We also have a piece in there about the timeline when it comes to the procurement process and also looking at our vendors. And so what I would think that Ms. that Ms. Adeline would probably look at was, does the vendor offer the materials already put forth for our students in this case, Braille? So those are things that she could consider. However, we do need to follow the policy that was just recently adopted by the board in the spring. And then if indeed the board feels that there's some additions or modifications they would like to make to that in the spring after it's brought through the regular process, we would be glad to reconsider it.
Okay, Director O'Halloran.
That's fine.
That's fine. Okay, Director Gokul-Gandhi.
Yeah, so I think you're right. We should follow policy that we passed, so I'm fine with that. But then I think it just goes back to the original point. Let's really make it a priority to let our Braille educators know if A, once you find out immediately if there are materials, if B, if there are not, when can they anticipate those materials be either ready for them, or how are we going to source materials? And then C, please just let us know when that communication is sent out.
Okay, administration.
Director Simpson, members of the committee, while Director Gogani, I understand what your request is, we still have to follow the timeline. We still have to make sure we have a vendor that's adopted, and those things we have to follow the process. So when that is taken care of, we definitely will. We also, in our communication, solicit different types of teachers, and so our teachers of students who use Braille can be a part of the textbook adoption, just as well as our teachers who work with our First Nations committee and our bilingual students as well.
Okay.
Director Gokul-Gandhi.
Yeah, maybe let's just even send that as a preemptive communication, so that, to just that about the timeline. I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying, we have someone here who's testified about this, so I'm sure there are other educators who have the same questions, right? And so, again, it's like communication is key. I know you're looking at me like I'm insane, or you're not even looking at me, but I'm just wondering, how can we communicate this in advance so that people just feel like they're a part of the process and they really understand what the expectations are and where we're going?
Director, Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Jennifer Mims-Howell, Chief Academic Officer. So to Director Gogul-Gandhi's point, what we will do is we will follow the process that we have in the past. However, we can send information to different listservs if that would be sufficient after the process is followed by Ms. Adeline and her committee. We can do some extras. How about that?
Director Gokul-Gandhi.
Yes, and on that note, I move approval of this item.
Look at that. All right. Any other comments? I suppose we can take the vote. I think everybody's good. Yes? Okay. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
On the motion by Director Gokul-Gandhi to approve the administration's recommendations, Director Gokul-Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Ferguson.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
And Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 6, action on a request to approve the 2025 MPS Summer Academy Plan. The recommendation is that the board approve the 2025 MPS Summer Academy Plan.
Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Eduardo Galvan, interim superintendent. This evening, we're asking your approval of the 2025 Summer Academy Plan. I have with me Ms. Natalie Anderson and Dr. Hill to share this plan. Following the sharing of this information, we're prepared to answer any questions. Thank you. Ms. Anderson.
Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee. I'm Natalie Anderson, Manager of Extended Learning Opportunities, and I'm here with Dr. Hill, Director of College Career Readiness, and Dr. Gilliam, Coordinator of Extended Learning Opportunities. Tonight, we're going to present the Summer Academy Plan for 2025 and highlight some accomplishments from summer 2024. Milwaukee Public Schools recognizes that students' academic success and engagement is a high priority and critical to our students' future success. Extended learning opportunities, such as Summer Academy, are critical strategies to leverage student success and are in alignment with Priority 1 of the 5 priorities for success, which is increased academic achievement and accountability. Summer Academy is designed to inspire curiosity, build knowledge, and help students become confident learners, prepare for the challenges ahead, which is aligned with student achievement and post-secondary readiness within the strategic plan. We provide acceleration curriculum to prepare students for the rigor they'll face in the next grade level and mitigate learning deficits. As we work to develop summer programming, we keep in mind the express needs of students and families, evolving curricular needs, special populations such as students with disabilities and English language learners in both the program design and structure. We also bear in mind building facilities to ensure sites are accessible throughout the Milwaukee area. Our goal is to develop curriculum to accelerate students' learning so that they start the school year ahead. Each year we ask a sample group of students for their input on if we were successful. Through these surveys, we also ask about future programming students and families are interested in. The graphs represent 250 students who participated in the survey. Students consistently state they are learning new things and feeling ready to start the school year after their summer experience. Throughout the year, we work with our curriculum specialists to determine adjustments we need to make based upon students' needs. This year, we will work to restructure the elementary curriculum to encompass survey feedback and Act 20 legislation, integrating more reading and literacy into the curriculum. Last summer, over 4,000 students participated in Summer Academy. We offered programming for English language learners, Montessori students, extended school year for students with IEP needs, as well as College 101 and other specialty programs in the arts, AP, IB, and CTE. 47 students earned college credit in classes such as beach volleyball at UWM and social justice at Marquette. We also had 155 summer graduates, our highest number of students to date, and offered numerous specialty classes such as cake baking, STEM glitch, orchestra, and more. For the summer of 2025, we plan to offer many programs similar to last year, hosting all programs July 7th through August 1st, with the Students' Day being 8 to 12. High school students will participate in specialty courses or credit attainment within the 4-week session. During the session, we will have course offerings in credit acceleration, credit recovery, extended school year, virtual night school, and college 101 courses. Specialty courses are designed so students can gain exposure to additional coursework they may not have access to during the school year. But they have expressed interest in these courses through their academic and career plan or work to build proficiency in key skill areas such as personal reach projects and AP and IB coursework. We continue to provide a variety of interactive academically engaging experiences based on middle school students' expressed interests. Again, these interests are based upon survey data and academic and career planning data in Zello. This integrated curriculum gives students the opportunity to enhance their skills in the core content while working on high-interest projects such as entrepreneurship. Last summer, students participated in tiny house design, where students had the opportunity to design a tiny house and pitch the program development to their instructors. The elementary curriculum will be updated to encompass Act 20 requirements. Policy around this legislation is currently under development. This policy will guide our curriculum as we provide intensive reading during the summer, along with integrated projects which encompass literacy throughout other content areas. We anticipate this will require additional staff and training. To ensure this intensive reading instruction is implemented with fidelity, we will provide additional reading training, including training some of our summer paras, so that this training can extend back into their home schools. We anticipate having 15 sites as last year and work with our facilities and maintenance to ensure sites are accessible, have air conditioning, and spread across the district. Extending learning adventures will be held to give students exposure to new subjects, encourage curiosity, and further learning through community partnerships. Students identify new areas of interest and abilities through camps designed to help students gain real-world experiences and prepare them for future success. Adventures are incorporated in the Summer Academy curriculum, as well as camps offered half-day, full-day, or week-long. Some of these camps will take place in August as well. Students learn about the environment, participate in the arts, STEM activities, and more. ELO works with community partners such as Mad Science, Urban Ecology Center, Arts at Large, and Discovery World to provide these experiential opportunities during the summer, as well as non-school days through the year, winter and spring breaks. Bridge programs are designed to assist students with the transition to middle and high school. We offer these opportunities in August. The goals of Bridge is to build community and help students understand the rigor and expectations of these transitional years. Freshman Bridge plays a crucial role in determining the success of students will have in high school. Bridge provides incoming ninth graders with opportunities such as meeting with their ninth grade teachers, connecting to upperclassmen to learn about their freshman experience, identify extracurricular activities of interest, build community through service learning. Bridge provides the opportunity to ask questions to help freshmen navigate their first year and develop skills that can lead to better outcomes. The overarching goal is to enhance student confidence and sense of belonging as they transition into their high school years. Middle School Bridge provides sixth grade students the opportunity to form realistic expectations of what middle school will be like. There are community building activities, and students will explore their schools, and it's an opportunity to integrate into the school before the entire student body gets there. We have several of our middle schools that often participate in in Middle School Bridge as well. Extended learning opportunities like these continue to meet students where they are and enhance their educational experiences. We ask that you approve the 2025 Summer Academy Plan, and with that, I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We do have a speaker slip. Could I please have Larry Hoffman come forward?
Larry Hoffman, Hoffman. On the agenda, it says elementary summer academy curriculum is under redesign to incorporate Act 20 legislation, refocusing on the science of reading. I'm happy to see that. The presenter has said that there would be an intensive literacy focus. Just want to point out that over the past 2 years, past 2 summers, I've come over here to ask whether there was remedial reading available to kids that I work with. And there was none. For the past 2 years, there's been no remedial reading, phonics remedial reading. So I would ask whether there is going to be remedial reading this summer for individuals or small groups. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I have 2 questions. One, and the cake baking reminded me. I would love if a parent can review the materials before they go out. And I specifically recall with the cake baking, I wasn't sure what grade bands. I think it was offered at maybe Hamilton. And so maybe I was supposed to intuit from that it was a high school course. But my rising 7th grader at one point wanted to own a bakery. And so I was like, cool, do you want to do this cake baking, So it took a little bit of workaround to figure out which grade bands some of the things were offered to. And so it would be good, and I would even offer myself up as the test subject, just to get parent input on how the materials get read, and if they are, there may be things that within this building make sense, and of course you think this is perfectly understandable, but from a parent perspective maybe isn't received the same way. So just kind of doing some of that that user experience or parent experience design. Can we get just another set of eyes on that, please?
Administration.
Director Simpson, members of the committee, thank you, Director O'Halloran, for volunteering your services. We would appreciate it.
Yes.
There you go. You've got another hat to wear. And your second question.
When you point out a problem, oftentimes you are, voluntold to fix it, and I'm happy to do so. And then my other question, so this is presented as a plan for approval, and I believe this, I was just joking that it feels like a concept of a plan. Are we going to get like the actual schools and all of that? That comes back. Can you tell me when that comes back, please?
Administration.
Director Simpson, members of the committee, Natalie Anderson, Manager of Extended Learning Opportunities. Yes, we will bring those schools back. We received information from F&M today. So we are currently working on that list, and we can bring that back by January.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Other Director Ferguson?
Thank you, Chair. Can you clarify what intensive literacy focus, what that includes?
Administration.
Director Simpson, members of the committee, Natalie Anderson, Manager of Extended Learning Opportunities. It'll be based off of the adoption of the curriculum around Act 20. So as we get more information around Act 20 and the plan for during the school year, we'll follow that same strategy. We know students, teachers are doing the letters training currently, so we're going to do some intensive letters training during the summer as well to make sure our staff are prepared to implement.
Follow-up, Director Ferguson?
Yes, thank you. So with our district underperforming in math and in reading, I think this is a great opportunity to offer more training and learning around these two subject areas over the summer. So what are we doing to encourage students that may be underperforming to actually take advantage of these opportunities this summer?
Administration.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee. So a part of the process in terms of when we reach out to families, it's done at the school level first. So students that may be struggling, that information goes out from central office. It's also messaging that comes out from the schools, either in conjunction with parent-teacher conferences, when report cards go home, during parent meetings. Those are all things that are done in the natural course of that. Also, just to clarify, in terms of Act 20, there are specifics there regarding students in terms of how they perform, have to be offered that opportunity again. So we encourage, obviously, when we get to that point, we encourage all their families, anybody that's listening, to take advantage of that, right? We do offer summer academies. We have offered them for as long as I've been around. And sometimes they're more attended than not. So, but again, in specifics, individual schools do reach out to individual students, and then as a district, we offer that to anybody who wants to take advantage of that service.
Any follow-up, Director Ferguson?
Yes, thank you. What is our capacity for enrollment in these summer academies?
Administration.
I'll let you answer some of that, but obviously one thing that we haven't had to turn anybody away. We haven't had to do that. I would think if we should get an enormous amount of people that want to take advantage of that, the only limiting factor would be having staff that want to work the summer school program. But again, that has not been historically a problem that we have had.
Any follow-up, Director Ferguson?
No, thank you.
All right, thanks. And just kind of in conjunction with that, I'm just wondering if any, in communicating with families, if we're going to be sharing, in sort of like user-friendly words or language, information about Act 10 and sort of like how that might, I'm sorry. I have a really hard time getting those numbers transferred to 20. Act 20, very sorry about that. Trauma lives, I'm telling you. So Act 20 to our families, so they kind of understand how there may be a different shift this year as compared to previous summers, that they understand sort of like the significance of that.
Director Simpson, members of the committee. Again, as part of that process through Act 20, we do have, that's part of some of the information that DPI is providing in terms of letters home, letters that advise families regarding whether their students should be attending based upon how they do on the assessments. So that will be going home. In addition to what we normally do, that would also be going home.
Okay, thank you. Any, Director Leonard?
So just clarifying what you just said, that it's still voluntary though.
Administration?
Director Simpson, Director Leonard, members of the committee, yes. This is all voluntary, yeah.
And then just out of curiosity, I heard the word remedial reading and thought, but am I assuming that our Act 20 applications would be considered remedial reading, or is that different?
Administration?
Director Simpson, members of the committee, I don't know if remedial would be the right way to say that. Again, this is a program designed specifically in the science of reading to help students learn to read. Again, as Dr. Hill mentioned earlier, we do have credit recovery, acceleration, things like that for high school students. As part of our tiered instruction within the school, we have Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3.
Right.
So some of those interventions happen during the school year based upon the student's need, right? So they may, a small group instruction in the regular classroom as they rotate through stations. Those groups are aligned to students' needs within those groups. So when they're working with the teacher, they're receiving some of that Tier 2, some of that extra. It could be a computer-based, depending upon the setup and the way that's structured as well. And again, any student that wants to attend Summer Academy can attend Summer Academy. Right. So if there is a need, they certainly can do so.
And then just one real comment. So this is, and I believe that the bridges are really highly recommended. I'm not sure if they're required. I always forget that. But just for the listening public, because I go to all the bridges, at least all the high school ones, and I just highly recommend, please make sure your students go to the freshman bridge and the 6th grade bridge. It is, when you go and watch what they do and see the process, then parents will later on comment. Sometimes they'll call me up and say, can we do that again? I missed it. And it's like, no, that was it. That's the end of it, so I just can't recommend it enough. It's a really good starting point. You get to answer a lot of questions, everything from busing to how lunch program works to your classroom teachers, et cetera. So anyway, strong encouragement on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Leonard, for that shout out for our summer bridge programs. They are wonderful. Director O'Halloran. Director Ferguson.
Okay, just really quickly, I just feel if we were in other communities with where our students are in terms of math and reading, it would be a public outcry. So what can we do as board members? Because for us all, everybody has a role to play, right? In making sure that our district does better than it has been doing. What can we do to compel or help push people into these academies, the students especially? Is there any way, have we ever done this? I don't know if we have, where students that are failing in math and reading are not given the option but are required to attend these programs in the summer. And then as directors, what can we do to help promote and speak the same language that the administration is speaking in terms of, hey, everybody needs to understand and feel the heat right now of where we are and what that means for our city. We're looking even beyond today, but 10, 20 years down the road, we're going to have a real problem if we don't fix this.
Administration.
Director Steamson, Director Ferguson, members of the committee. Again, so at the school level, there are always recommendations, right? Schools, I remember when I was a sitting principal having many of those conversations with parents about, imploring them to send their son or daughter to summer academy, specifically for that. Another issue, so I guess my answer to that would be the schools already do that as much as we can. Certainly, voices such as yours and members, anybody here, just the encouragement of when those opportunities are there, taking advantage of them. Another thing that maybe doesn't get talked about a lot, but is also a problem, is we start summer academies with a certain number of students, and that inevitably, summer activities, different priorities, and attendance drops, right? So just like we talk about attendance during the regular school year, attendance during summer academy is important as well, right? So, helping with that just so that oftentimes, students, if given an opportunity to go to a beach or go to a classroom, might tend to go to the beach, right? So there's going to be some need for parents to help us out, for others, if there's obstacles, right? We talked about how we put them in different parts of the city. We've tried to get them in places that offer air conditioning so that, on those hot days, at least that's not a barrier to them wanting to be there. But certainly just helping us get it out there that it is available. We want you there. We want you to, once you sign up, make sure you go and go every day. And you still have time to enjoy some time in the summer.
Director Ferguson?
Yeah, just as a follow-up to that, so in working with kids, of course, they're always going to choose the beach over the classroom. So have we, is there any way we can maybe couple the summer academy and rec together, where students that are taking advantage of rec because that's what they want to do are also dual enrolling or dual participating in the summer academies?
Administration?
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Natalie Anderson, Manager of Extended Learning Opportunities. Yeah, we do meet very regularly with recreation. Many of our programs will have the recreation program directly after our services are over. So we do try to align those services as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
I think I'm good for now.
Wonderful. The pleasure of the committee, or did you have a question, Director Lind? Okay. What is the pleasure of the committee with regard to this item, Director O'Halloran?
I move approval of administration's recommendation with a request that the specifics come back to the board in the January cycle.
Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, on Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendations and to direct that specifics be brought back to the board in the January cycle. Director Gokul-Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Ferguson.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
And Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Great. Thank you so much for presenting that item. And Madam Secretary, that was the last, next item, please. Sorry, I was reading your part.
That's okay. There are no additional items on tonight's agenda.
Thank you for saying that. There being no further business before the committee, this meeting is adjourned. Have a great night.